I'm Karen.
Super.
I'm Karen,
Beautiful.
the person.
Fantastic. You guys?
Yeah, I'm Karen, the
Hi,
person
Karen.
you've been talking to.
Your speech.
So,
You can really
Series.
hear.
Series is my group
Sorry.
partner. You've got Patricia
Yes,
sitting there, and we've got two more people joining, and they'll be on shortly. And that's Jeff and
okay, cool.
Dee.
Oh, glad
So,
to have you in. I know. I'm actually getting. It seems to only happen when Karen's talking. I only hear about half of what she's saying. It's her audio. I don't know what it is. She's in England and her audio is holding up, and I'm not.
oh, well, I'll take my camera off because obviously there's a lot happening on my computer right now because obviously I've started the Hangout and everything. I'll just take my camera off. Might make it better.
Okay, that time I seem to hear everything you said, so maybe it will get better.
There you go.
Yeah, don't worry.
So, yeah, a bit confusing about the times there.
I was so confused. I just because my clock is set to both my time and then GMT, and I just couldn't understand when you were saying you were GMT, and I was like, okay, so you mean this time? But I didn't know that they actually sometimes you are GMT then, right?
I think
Yeah, we can have summertime as well, and yeah, that's just for me is +1 and then +1, so it's 2 hours difference. Oh wow. Okay. That's sometimes it's really confusing. We had it last week, the same with Santos Bonacci. He's in Australia, but he got summertime, so we were an hour earlier. Yeah, that's why I try and ask everybody whenever they give me a time. I just say, "What is it GMT?" Because my clock is set to it shows 2 times. It shows my time and then GMT, so it's easy for me to do things by that. But yeah, it does get confusing, especially with like right now. We're on daylight savings time, so we're GMT -7. Sometimes we're GMT -8, so it does get confusing as all hell.
Yeah, and don't forget, over in the States and Canada and all that, they have lots of different time zones, don't they? Whereas we don't. We just have one. It changes. We just have one time zone difference. But in America and all that, there's loads of.
I think in the United States there's 4, and then there's some places like I know Arizona's one. I'm not sure who else, but they don't ever change. So even though it's the state right next to me, right next to California, well, I guess one over, but they don't ever change. So everybody else moves around and they just stick to the same time all the time. So it just gets confusing as all hell. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us anyway at short notice. I'd like to clear up one bit because you said something on one of the messages. You don't like maybe groups that are in secret. But as you well know, it's not particularly nice out there. And before at Christmas time, Jason and Ronnie tried to hack into our website when we thought they were our friends. We had Laurie laughing about us on her live hangouts on YouTube when she was a member of our group. She didn't mention that in her hangouts, that she was actually a member in our group and she was my friend. So the reason we stay is we don't want any trolls, because what we're doing, we really are researching. We're not just a group putting memes up. And I'm not saying those things don't go in the group and people put memes and put posts up on what interests them, but we really are researching. And we don't want anybody to ruin what we're doing.
Yeah, just to say my end of that, it would be that, I respect anybody who's doing this kind of research, because to have the ability to question what we were taught, and I know the kind of abuse you get because I've gotten it for since day one, 2 years ago, and to be able to research and study these subjects that have enslaved the world, I have utmost respect for anybody who's looking into it, because that tells me they're not a sheep, or they're not simply believers in everything that they're told. So that's the first point. Second point would be, I do have a problem with the activities of anybody who's doing it in secret. And let me just explain why. You said in that, or you sent me a little voice thing where you said that there's information that you have that people die over, or that they would kill over. And I agree. And the thing is that by releasing that information, you have removed yourself from being part of having that bullseye on your back. Because let's say, just as an example, the guy who put out the video called No Forest on Flat Earth. let's say that there was something in his research that was hugely important and that he might have been killed over that kind of information. But by releasing that video and it going, I'll call it viral. It's not viral like some cat video, but it's viral. So when it goes viral, he is kind of taking that bullseye off his back. Nobody's going to go kill him for releasing that information. Whereas if he was part of some secret group and say only 10 or 15 or 20, who knows what could have happened to that information? And I'm not saying that information is in any way important or anything, or even that I believe it. I'm just saying, using that as an example. So when I hear that groups are doing anything in secret, here's what worries me, is that I'm working my ass off every day and doing research and studying and looking into things. And I have this feeling in the back of my mind, like, damn it, if these guys have something that would help me, then it pisses me off, because I'm working to
Hangout to get information. That's the whole reason for the Hangouts. One, for actually getting to know each other, because human relation in that sense.
Hi, Robert.
Right.
Also, actually giving the information so this public platform can put it out.
Well, good. Okay, and that's kind of what my hope was going to be, is that, and I have no problem either if you guys want to say what kind of line of thinking are you on, what kind of research
We will be putting the information out, Jeran. We just don't want it out now. Before we've finished, people take it, use it, and we get trolls before we've even finished. It will be disastrous.
I was also going to say that I understand your position, because another thing that I've noticed, and I'm sure you guys have as well, that I've got a list going of about 11 things right now, changed as a direct result from my videos. So what I know is that they do listen to the stuff that we put out, and it helps them clean up their act. So by hiding the information, let's say things that I discovered and let out, that they wouldn't be able to cover that up if they didn't know that people know it. So I do understand where it's coming from. The only thing is, and I'm not saying it from a selfish point of view, I'm more saying it from a, and I'm sure you guys have done it too, when you go researching something and you run into like a dead end, you spend a day or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 on a certain line of inquiry just to kind of get to the end of it and go, that was kind of not what I was looking for. And so when I hear like, oh, this group is researching and they're kind of keeping stuff to themselves, it just kind of is like, damn it, man, if they had something that would have kept me from going on a dead end search for 10 days, because it's already difficult to do what we do, right? And on top of that, these guys who developed this globe have had hundreds of years, the best scientists, and that's what pisses me off when people say, well, where's your map? Where's your map? It's like, look it, your map took hundreds of years, thousands of people, tons of state-sponsored and government-sponsored trips and sailings.
Yeah.
And so
plans.
We don't have that. I don't have
projects.
I mean, I got funds. Right. These things were, you have to remember that the ships down south, the voyages by Wilkes and these guys, those were funded by the government. The United States government, the Crown. Those things were completely funded with the best crew, the best equipment, the best scientific, apparatuses. And so when the globe people come at us like, oh, the globe's so perfect and you guys just have some idea, it's like on one level you're like, yeah, that's the point, is that you think that your globe is perfect, but there's so many holes in it that's why we have to look at alternative theories. And yeah, we're up against, and I always say they got here first. That's what sucks, because they got there first.
Yeah.
They put their bullshit story together. They put it in school books.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about it in every movie and every commercial, and every teacher speaks it. So yeah, we're behind the 8 ball. So when I hear somebody's reaching in
something else, Jeran, do you find that everybody wants it?
It.
Everybody wants it now. Now.
Hi, Jeran.
Sorry. Yeah, this is Robert. This is Robert Forchek, by the way. He's a member of our group. This is Jeran.
Yes, Jeran.
What's up?
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about is, which perfect globe is it? The pear-shaped globe, the one with the gargantuan North America, or the fun-size version? Which one is it that's so perfect? I'm not picking fun of you. I'm picking fun of them. And it's absurd, when we see this garbage, and see they not only have the other information, they've got the propaganda machine behind them to go ahead and affirm their work and make fun of people that. So it's all kind of interesting. It's pretty hard to argue with the politically controls majority public opinion, whatever they want that to be. If they want to know our opinion, they'll give it to us. Is kind of how it works out with that.
And I want to tell you guys because everything that I've ever researched, I put out there. So there's nothing I can say to you guys like, hey, here's something I've been researching. But there is one thing, and this I haven't done a video on it yet because I need to do a more complete, total understanding. But I don't mind giving it away to you guys because, like I said, I'm not just something that I know is true, but I can't put it all together yet. But my research has showed me that space is entirely a mathematical computer simulation. And what happened is 1930, 1940, Vannevar Bush, and the guy who came up with information theory, the name's escaping me right now. But basically what happened was they discovered the idea of computers. You know, this guy started computers, so did Vannevar Bush. He started the National Science Foundation, was part of the government's Council on Scientific. What they realized was if we can't go to space, right, they could make a fake space. They could do all the calculations and make it mathematically perfect. Prove that, because it's a self-correcting system, is to go to space. And since we can't go there, then they've created an it's impossible to disprove it. Would be, you know, let's just say in 200 years, when people get to the point where they're like, you've been promising us space travel for 300 years, then it could be disproven just because of public opinion. But until then, it's going to take, and that's why I haven't done a video on it yet, because I'm really trying to craft and show exactly what happened. Because you've heard about Dr. James Gates? I'm sure he's a black guy, kind of has some crazy hair. He's a physicist.
Oh yeah,
he discovered that there is zeros and ones at the base of the equations just for the universe. Now he's gone on a trip and he's actually going around the country right now speaking that we live in a matrix. But he's an idiot because we're not mathematical numbers. We're not zeros and ones. The universe is zeros and ones. The universe is a mathematical creation. And by that, it makes everything NASA does so simple. Because when you send a satellite out into space, you're sending a satellite out into a mathematical simulation to send back the data that the scientists are sitting there waiting for. It's easy to send back the data from your spacecraft.
Yeah.
It becomes simple because space is in a computer. It's just like a simulation game. So I just want to tell you guys that, maybe that'll help you with some of your research, but I really feel that is the answer, because that would make sense to me. And when this James Gates talks about it being a self-correcting mathematical code, to where if I try and disprove Saturn and say, no, Saturn is only this big, well, they would all say, no, it can't be, because look at all these orbits and look at how these all work. Well, they proved me wrong, right? The only way for me to prove them wrong is to go to Saturn, measure it, and say, no, sorry, you're wrong. Saturn is half the size you said. Well, at that point, their entire space system would be nothing, because I've just proven all the numbers that they've used forever and all the equations. So that's why I think they're so cocky. That's why they're able to do ISS footage. That's why they're able to...
Jeran, the other week, Ceres got 100 years of the moonrise. 100 years
of space. I already have debunked the whole poll.
Good.
Can I just say 1 second? We've got Eric with us now. Eric is in France.
Hi, guys.
Eric's in...
This microphone's working?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hello. Hello, Eric. We've got
Hi,
Eric in America.
Jeranism.
In France. Ceres is in Holland. Robert's in America. And Trisha and I are in UK. And the other two people who are joining are going to be from the UK. But, yeah, somebody gave Ceres 100 years of moon rises. How can they predict the next 100 years of moon rises?
They have the formula.
And something else we were really shocked about. We were really shocked about this. We went to find if we could see other information, not just timeandday.com, you know, like where you get all where the moon and the sun is. So I found this other site and I was giving them to Ceres, and then we looked at the bar at the top and it said the Navy.
Navy's mode.
Right.
Military has all the information next to Google.
Yep.
Maps shows you actually the map right in your face.
Mm-hmm.
That's square.
What about the Antikythera mechanism? Is that came up?
Right.
Or they use that on a flat model, and they use that also supposedly to predict these eclipses and solar eclipses and all that stuff. I
Absolutely.
haven't confirmed it, but
Well, yeah, so far I can see it back in my own stuff. It's a fixed rhythm. You need to know the frequencies to know where the sun is and where the moon is and on what level. They both have an amelima, opposing amelimas. But yeah, once I started studying Google Maps itself, the whole photo detail, if you glue that all together, it becomes one big square. It is only between 85 and minus 85 latitude and 360 longitude.
Okay.
So you need 5 degrees at the top and at the bottom of that map. And I figured out the formula for it. I found actually a complete square on top of it from that particular 5 degrees only. And that squares in the middle of the photographic, and the rest I could only data built from Google Maps.
Okay, so
He's found hidden information in Google Maps. They've hidden it.
Format
mm-hmm.
was also used by the military businesses.
Grids, you mean?
Yeah, the UTM grid.
Mm-hmm.
What I figured was that I could also do the same, exact size of the square. And another 1 miles. That's also for the top and down. Photograph itself, if you look in the detail, your house corners are straight 90 degrees corners.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how you look at it, you will see the 90 degrees to the corner of your house. So I figured this is actually the photographic version of reality.
Mm-hmm.
Together you work out to a bigger, it becomes only bigger. What they do is the image is requested on XY coordinates and the zoom level. And the zoom level is 2 to the power zoom level to have the number of images in X and Y coordinates. And that's in the power of 2. 1, then 2, then 4, then 16, then and so on.
Right.
And it even, if you take XY, then you have a double exponential growth in number of pictures. And then adding those 5 degree extra to it made the three squares on top. I don't know if you have seen it.
It depends which version of the square map you're talking about.
Should I just explain this? Series was wanted to download the pixels on Google Maps. That's what he did, all the pictures. He wanted to see how much detail he could get. And then he kept finding all this bits missing, bits in there, and he realised there was some hidden information. And he got a process to be able to get into Google Maps. And he's been downloading another set of information, an elevation set of information, which is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, series, you can carry on now.
Okay, so my only the square map, and I'll tell you why I went away from it, and then you tell me how to get back to it. I understand the idea of going west to east because you left California and crossed, where the date line would be, that you come out on the other side. So I get that, the north-south connection, because if you go north, say from Alaska, you actually come out.
Oh, north-south is a bigger circle. Well, if you get 40, in the sense that east-west is a space loop, is is what Freemason always shows in their logo. And the compass.
Right.
And blue is actually drawing the flower of life. And I used the middle square where the photographic material is as the base square, the drawing of the flower of life. And I put the first leaves I put the leaves on the east-west square edges with two diagonal in the north and two diagonal in the south, what are within the square, not against the edges. And when I repeat the pattern in east-west direction, I only need one square in the middle again. That's because the leaves are etching the square. The north and south are not etching. I need more squares to actually complete the cycle in how it in the middle of the square again. And that's
Can that be because there's more land north south?
15 circles ending up. The 15th circle is ending up right in the middle of the square again.
Can that be because there's more land north?
Probably in Mount Meru, but in the first north part, I didn't find any land other than Venetië. And in the south, there's only land. So it's a kind of well, I can share you a little.
Yeah, I guess if you could show me an idea of what you're talking about, just because I kind of understand, but I also am a little confused with what you're saying.
I put it 3 times left, right, and west. It's the elevation, and I have used as many colors as possible to get as many detail out of it as possible.
Okay.
What you see here in the south, for example, is the south wave, and then there is a particular edge in the wave. What goes over into the land part where the wave is kind of expressed.
And so you're saying it's 24,901 left to right and also north south.
Square, and you have 3 squares on top in the bottom in vertical sense, and 1 square in horizontal.
Okay, so I got you. Okay, when you fly from Alaska, which I can kind of see the places there a little bit. I can see Greenland. I think I can see the United States a little bit. But when you fly north from, yeah, there you go, a little closer. If you were to put your mouse or something over Alaska and you went north, and then you come out of above Russia, it's a 4D non-existent.
No, there's no outcome in Russia. You can only go, in this case, west is the shortest route. North is actually going on and on and on and on. And south is the same. And I figure they created the ball the same to spread on south as well. And yeah, what can I say?
But would it be like a time, like a, I don't know, it's like a warp zone or like a Mobius strip or some kind of reversing, I don't know, backwards? No?
As far as I figured with the frequencies and repeating of frequencies, I figured we need 13 times 26 squares more to end up in heaven. And heaven is the other side of the circle. 5D and 4D are circles in a sense. Those are the circles, actually. The map itself is flat and square. The circle in 4D, in a sense, is that you have the first of the 3 as a looping circle, and the maximum circumference of the circle is the 24,901 miles east-west. How you can see it is like middle of a toroidal field, and the outer edge of the dimension is actually half a circle to the top of yourself, and then the backside is the same, but then the other way around. And there is a complete toroidal field. So you are actually, as an observer, toroidal field in that particular fourth dimension. It is by actually walking the fourth dimension as a straight line and end up at the same place again. The fourth dimensional circle. Fifth dimensional is only a bit bigger. What I calculated around 8 million or 8 billion miles or something.
That's what the Vedic says, yeah.
So yeah, that is purely based on the flower of life pattern.
Okay, so guess what so I understand, here's why I understand the east-west is because but I guess what you're saying then is you say you can't go north. So like when somebody...
But our dilemma with north and south is the barrier in the sense of livability. You have to go over a very large ice barrier, for example, in the north.
Right.
And in the south, the same.
Okay, so like a flight that goes...
Flying the whole world around, but then from the edge of the top square. Just one square of it. And then you need the second square on top, for example, is probably Mount Mirror.
So I guess I don't know if I'm having kind of a hard time keeping up with this. I have kind of a basic question about the Google Earth. How accurate do you believe when we look at the Google Earth, is it to what they say it is? Taking out of consideration a sphere, is the out pretty accurate from what we're able to determine with readings and so forth?
Yeah, and so far I've created this one, and then I need actually somebody's location. Name a city what you know, Jeremiah, for example. Anyone?
Sorry?
You actually know.
What do you want, series?
Say it again.
Your own local city or something.
Sure. Monterey, California.
What?
He said
Monterey, California. Are you asking for my location?
Monterey?
Yeah, M-O-N-T-E-R. M-O-N.
N? Yeah. E-E-R.
E-Y.
we have another member that's joined us now, Jeran. We've got Dee with us. Dee, do you want to say hello?
Hello. I'm finding it hard to find my settings. I don't know what you're seeing or what you're hearing, but yes, hello. How's it going?
Hi, Dee.
Hello, Dee.
And we've got Eric as well. Eric, Patricia, Robert Forchek with us, Dee.
So hello guys. Yeah, no, I can see now. Yeah, I've got it sorted now. How's it going, everyone? So I'll mute up, let you guys carry on with whatever it was you were talking about when I really interrupted.
Wow. No pictures.
Well, just do mine then, series. Go to mine, Thatcham. TH8. Oh, we've got another member with us. We've got Jeff. Jeff, do you want to say hello? Jeff, we've got Eric, we've got Dee, series, Robert Forchek, Jeran.
Fuck. Oh, I'm blown.
Patricia and me.
Driving at the moment. I'll just have to listen for a while.
No, I'm blocked here. I'm blocked from Google Maps. images. Sorry, yeah, I can't demonstrate it. I can demonstrate this. This is when you transform it. Map.
Mute yourself.
And
Okay, I'm just in the car though.
right, this is the ball transformation. It's, yeah, well, you will see what the differences is and what it does. And only this particular square location with square corners in a house. Maybe I can find.
You didn't know that much.
Series, what's happened on your computer?
On that series, if it's
I'm
okay,
back.
y'all, I wanted to digress to Jeran's idea or belief that there may very well be spaces largely generated in a computer. It's a computer simulation, and I would say I agree with you, Jeran, and in that we're seeing a lot of proof of that through computer graphic imagery that NASA has, the D-Wave computer that I've heard they have, the quantum computing that they do, the intelligence agency. They've got all the propaganda machines to corroborate their stories and give it the level of credibility that they want it to have. So even if we had exactly what it actually is and so forth, we don't have the mechanism to disseminate it through the population in a believable manner. They're going to believe the absurdity of a spinning ball going over 1,000 miles an hour to it, when today the dogs that were out on the beach where I do my live broadcast, a tennis ball gets thrown, it's spinning a couple miles an hour, the same magical water goes flying off of it. When we were told these ridiculous stories at first, we were children. Right. And then it through all the multimedia propaganda we've seen over the years. And I remember at different times hearing things like light year distances away. And I thought, how is that even knowable? How can you? And about the temperature of the sun. Now, when I first started thinking about it, and it really seemed odd to me, was we've got 3 adult children, but there was a time when we needed to use a thermometer that either got put in their mouth or put somewhere else to determine the temperature. And I'm thinking, how in the world are they possibly able to evaluate and accurately tell us the temperature of a planet that's an imaginary distance away? They're making stuff up. So when I realized that it's all a bunch of lies that they're telling us, I just I'm going to go for a walk on the beach. I'm going to take pictures of the birds and the people and the sun and enjoy it all. And that the official narrative is largely a lie, and having a level of acceptance that I can't really disprove all. I can show pretty pictures to people. Now, I've got a friend, a theoretical physicist. He actually teaches professor in a university. He wants to go on a speaking tour in his years as a creation scientist, kind of like Answers in Genesis kind of guy. Their whole group believes in the spinning globe. I sent him my photo album. He says, this proves nothing but that we live on a sphere. Okay, that's a pretty bold statement, but you're looking at level flat horizons, perfect parallel liquid sea level liquid mirrors, and you're so bold to tell me that it proves we live on a sphere. I said, you've got a lot of pride and indoctrination and future hopes of what you would like that will all come to naught, and losing probably your retirement and respect in your community and
the truth right in your face, don't tell it. For this, for example, these are perfect circles in this Google Maps PTM format.
Do it
And how you
any
get them.
other way. Interesting, isn't it?
When you transform them in first the ball projection, and then after the what is it, GPS projection, then in the ball projection you see both are just images because the circles are not complete circles anymore. Circles, either horizontal or vertical. And when you go back to the photograph, the original photograph, then it's a circle. This is reality. They show it right in your face, but they just don't tell it. They tell the lies about it. I figure they can lie about the data, but they can't lie the data itself. So I started actually downloading the data and make it my own way. Through this whole flower of life, I figured even the dynamics of it. Why you need a single square east-west and multiple squares north and south, and why there is a north and south. Actually possible to make it a ball, because the triple square is actually used for the complete for the complete ball projection. Let's do level 8. That's pretty fast. This is the GPS projection. You can see that it builds up at the top and slowly comes down pretty fast. This is this particular ETM wave, but all three squares are present, but the top and the bottom square are basically pushed for at least a half in a single pixel, and in only 20 pixels. When this is 720 pixels high, then it's only 20 pixels of complete square on top and a complete square on the bottom. So everything is kind of hidden in it. And this is this from chain as joining the north in a single pixel. But I get actually all this data out of that single pixel. Well, it's impossible to do that. Around is possible, the square way, because the latitude, longitude used to request the elevation data, and they translate that back into the XY coordinates. Who is actually making this 0.0 position? You have 0.0 and set level 6. That is a single image. They just blur it here a bit, but when you go into the details, you will see that that even here everything gets sharper and sharper and sharper. But yeah, when you go into the detail, this proves actually how the whole square of the whole world is just a square what it is. And there's no other way than actually working through the fourth dimension, because there is a space loop there. And you can't project it in anything else but this square without destroying the empirical photographic detail to know this particular position.
Hi, Annie, I've got a smoothie there if you want.
Sorry?
Smoothie in the fridge if you want. Yeah, I came across so many stuff eventually. Well, yeah, this is what the more north you'll get, the flatter it becomes. And then also the bigger you go, so level 6, you can see how the diagonal is created. The more north you go,
Here's my
actually what the longitude is.
So that's what the Mercator projection is, right? I mean, the Mercator projection works for navigation because they only distorted the north and south. So what they have you ever seen that it'll show like the circles? It shows a circle, but each circle distorts. Let me find that image for you. Just because I'm wondering if that's what you're showing or you're saying something different. Because what?
Well, this one is near the what is it? 13 latitude. 33. You can see that it gets smaller. 53. Even smaller.
We can hear someone's background, by the way. Someone's got children or something.
Yeah, I don't do that.
You can see what it's.
You could do that. Exactly the way I wanted to.
Robert, we can hear you talking.
Huh? Okay, can you see this link I put in?
Oh, yeah, I saw something come up in the Hangout then.
Oh, this, yeah. Oh, somebody confronted with me with this.
But because that kind of looks like.
No, where the perfect circles are on the UTM map. It doesn't matter how big they are. They just put them on a certain size, so it adds up in the ball. At the UTM map, how was this called again? Somebody created a link for some while ago.
But it's showing the amount of distortion in each area. And with the Mercator map, you can put in a heading and you stay in the same general compass direction because because of the distortion. Then you would go off kilter, which we know, right? Because we know that's not the Mercator. But you're saying, so I'm just getting what you're saying, right? You're saying that the Mercator map, just like we're looking at there, is the correct layouts?
Oh.
This UTM square. Yeah, there's so many names for maps.
Okay, right. No, that's interesting because that is something I have heard really much.
Google actually uses that as map format.
Right. Yeah,
and that seems to be the UTM format, what is actually used by the military the same.
Gotcha.
And I don't know, do you know free energy?
Yep.
Explanation.
Yeah, let me, if I can share my something, you tell me, can I share my screen?
Can I just say, Jeran, we've got someone else with us now. We've got Judith from Israel has joined the Hangout now.
Very good. Where is this thing? My thing is here. Oh, there it is. Tell me if you can see this map here.
Yeah, we see that.
Okay, so what? Yeah, don't pay attention so much to the projection. More, I just want to show you the problem I had with the free energy map, and then you can go wrong. I don't, not that I don't want to believe in a morph thing or anything like that. More along the lines of if that is true, then you can never prove that because.
Ken Wheeler does.
Say it again.
Ken Wheeler explains a lot about the electromagnetic nature of this world, especially light.
Jeran, can I say something? We've been in talks with Free Energy, and what it is that when he made his first things, it was his idea, right? And I think he's got some of it patented now, whatever he's done to it. But he was never trying to say everything was accurate. He was just trying to give the concept.
The reason I like it is because let's say I'm here in California and I've gone this way and I've traveled this way. That it made sense to me that at the same time I was also traveling here. That just allows me to understand the nature of kind of reality.
A little bit of
Robert, we can hear you. Robert, we can hear everything you're doing. So, or somebody else is talking.
Ordering a sandwich.
Robert,
So-
yourself.
Robert, mute your mic.
So that makes sense to me. I'm going this way. I come out this way.
Can I
And
just
then-
say that what it was is
Maybe better.
he made his idea, but he was trying. He
me just
never
finish.
said that it was actually. He knows he's got to put
Okay, so I'm
it
just trying to.
because people have been
Let me
having a
just finish
go
real
at
quick so you can
him.
tell me what's wrong with it before I. Okay, so because I can explain that if somebody asked me what's 500 million miles to my east, I would be able to say, well, it's me. I just repeat. Okay, but the problem I had was then north. For a while, I was thinking I would come out here, just like I was traveling this way. But then I realized that's not what happens when you go north from here. So that's why I started saying, well, wait a second. This makes sense to me. I can explain this to people. When you go this way, you're not coming this way.
Yeah.
So how north? You're actually you're speed traveling, or you're and then another thing, if you're leaving this way, let's say that the sun, or so it's here. So if the plane is going this way and the sun was on their left, then immediately the sun would be on the right, which would be noted somewhere. In it's not. So that's why I completely scrapped this model, and I think what what Lori is doing is leading people astray, because I think what people are doing is they're taking the projections and they think that that's reality. Not what you're doing so much, because you're actually showing that the images are correct on Google Earth. But when you look at SunCalc, which bases it off of this map, and let's say it's here, and they say, well, the sun's rising here and the sun sets here, or opposite, and this is the sun path. Flat map. It's not correct, because they're basing it off of this flat map, but it's not the map of the world. It is a projection, which means this extremely
projection, I call it.
what?
GPS
What?
projection.
Oh, yeah.
It is 80 pixels even. Except
The square, right?
a double square.
Right. And so what you're saying, just so I can make sure it's true, that you're saying, and again, don't pay attention to the projection. I just grabbed an image. You zoom into this, say this square, that it actually is lining up, meaning that if there was squares, and I know they're much smaller if you got deeper, but you're saying that these squares put together tell you that this is the actual correct map. Am I understanding that correct?
Yeah. When you take it
Okay.
from
Yeah.
Google, the Google source.
Right. That's actually, yeah, I haven't heard that before, but I've never thought about that. But you're right. So you've zoomed in to like as far as you can and gotten images, and then you have pieced those together and realized that it lays out like this. Okay, yeah, that's huge. I mean, and so you guys looked at the idea of the circle maps, came to the conclusion that it could not be true. The sun rises and sets.
Series.
Well, we record the sun and moon to actually keep connected to reality in a sense.
Right.
Is the root of our research that we can actually put in as data to see how the time is actually correct, and eventually also where sun and moon have to be.
Okay. I haven't given up on the sun map. I certainly don't say that the Gleason's is right, because I understand the problems with the continents where they are, et cetera, et cetera. But the reason I haven't given up the idea of the circle map is because the problems that I see people having with it are based off of SunCalc. And SunCalc is on a flat map. I've heard people say, oh, well, the sun rises south of east when let's say you're here. On this day here, where the sun's down here at the Tropic of Capricorn, they're saying, well, the sun rises south of east from America. But this is because they're looking at a projection that is a flat map. It's been distorted. If when you bent and I don't know if you've seen my video where I talked about it, that if you look at the globe and you draw headings, that this person here looking east is actually looking this direction. And looking west is actually looking this direction. It's because this is a flat map. It's bent this line down this way. And so people are basing everything that they're saying, oh, the sun rises south of east, sets south of west. Yeah, but you're saying that because you're looking at a globe and you're using your iPhone, which is a digital compass. It's not magnetic. It's digitally saying where you're at. It's not a compass.
Mhm.
And for me, the sun rising from where I live, so I live up here. Clear this out, this is a mess. When I looked at the sun rising on
north,
huh? So I'll just say one more
probably
thing.
the same. I'm in Holland, then a little bit higher, but what I think it is, I always see the sort first light of the sun and the last light of the sun in north or northwest.
Right, because
Because
you're
I'm
like up here.
Equator.
You're at
And
the
I figured we have 4 pillars of Earth. What are the 4 magnetical pillars? And these magnetical pillars are actually drawing the light to them. This is why you have a complete spreading of the light in the north. And why you see actually the sun on the other side of north while you are in north in the 24-hour clock per day. Light works through the pillars.
But somebody down here can't see the sun when it's up here, right?
I don't know really how far that goes. They have a shorter day, that's for sure.
Because one of the things that I noticed is when I looked at up, and I'd always thought when I looked at the sunrise, it rises at 90 degrees for me, and I just thought that direction was correct. And then I had somebody who was in Canada who was really questioning me on it and said, okay, well, don't use your iPhone compass. Go get a real compass. So I got a real compass. It looked like my 90 degrees on my phone was off by about, it was like 11 degrees versus a compass, real compass. So I said, okay, well, it actually looks like I'm at about 101 degrees this way, And so I said, okay, that's only 11 degrees. And he said, I'll look at your declination. So I looked at my declination, which for where I'm at is 13 degrees to the east. So then he said, well, actually, your sun is rising, and we're looking at the last equinox, so the sun was coming up the equator. Oops, I drew that too far. But was coming to get to the equator. And so when I looked at that and added my declination, well, the 11 plus the 13 was 24. And then if you minus 24 from this 90, you get 66.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it started to be kind of, wait a second, not rising to the east. The sun is rising. Everybody's east rises.
Yeah.
And that's something that I found out on the globe, that when you look at the globe, that people think that this is east for everybody, right? For everybody on this map. If you get the globe, it's not east anymore. East becomes, so here's let's pretend this is a globe.
Yeah.
In latitude, and everybody's measuring east, it would look like this.
There's a local sun, you mean?
Yeah, meaning if you are down here in South America, let's say, this latitude line, and you look east, people think they're looking this direction. But east is actually this direction towards the equator. So when the sun rises,
hang on, sorry, someone's trying to join now. Sorry, he's coming in on the wrong link. I'll just add him. Carry on.
No problem. I'm just going to show what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you carry on. Sorry.
Let me show you this. Don't save. And oops, am I still screen sharing or no? Don't happen. Hold on a second. Let me see. Okay. Oops. God bless him.
It happens to everyone.
I know. I can't ever. Do you think I'd figure this out by now? Okay. Let me know if you see the globe. So these lines I have drawn here are what east is for each of these locations, which are all in the same latitude. People think this is east, right to the east. But if you get behind this line, you see that all I do is take the line tool and draw a 90-degree line off the mark. So for somebody down here, the sun is rising in the east. Well, it's not really rising in the east. It's rising to their this line, which is 90 degrees, but it's the same for everybody. Everybody sees the sunrise from the same location because they're all looking at the sun.
I can't even go to the ball because before I land on the ball, all the photographic proof of what your actual own empirical location is correct.
And that's what I'm listening to you say. So you're saying that when we get down here close, that these photos are correct. Is that correct?
So hit this.
This is still the bulk of the phone. If you zoom in far enough, you get a square. You will see.
All right, Robert.
Right here that I'm looking at.
Robert, you joined then.
This is already the square moment.
Cool.
Oh, because when you are far enough zoomed in, you can actually see you can see the details.
Right.
You can actually make those details empirical.
Yeah.
Things add up.
Okay, I see what you're saying, and that's actually I've never heard anybody say that. You're right. I bet you that you're right. So you're saying if I get close enough where I can see detail to know that it's an actual photo, not so much a digital representation, photos of this amount that they would lay it out just like the Mercator.
Yeah, the pure squares. They store it actually completely squared.
How far do their squares go down? What's the most detail you got?
The maximum.
What is it?
Zoom level 20. That's 2 to the power 20.
And what about the how much is the square footage of that?
That's square 24,901.
You don't have to be exact. I'm just wondering, like, how many images would it take us to map the whole thing that way?
Single square is 0.23 miles.
Oh, okay. Wow. I didn't think it went that far. Okay, so 0.24 square, and you're saying when you match them up side by side, they work out perfectly.
Yeah, they become the complete square. What I'm using here, for example, they delete also images, and everything they delete, I mark as red. The first complete map I have. One bigger circle. I have also something like this, and the original Google Maps, but I'm at the moment blocked because I'm scanning so much data now.
Right.
They really protect it in a way. The photographic material, in a sense, the level 20 is going to take ages to actually scan, and especially the. This is, well, where's my, they're all reloading.
And I've mentioned it a couple times on a couple different shows, but I know when I talk to people, some of them haven't heard me say it. But have you seen the Google Earth when you travel across the date line with elevation wise?
How do you mean drop? What drop?
Yeah, it's really weird if you use that line rule tool on and you are drawing a line across the ocean, it says that the elevation is 0, which is correct. We all know that's level. But when you go with the line and you draw it across, excuse me, the date line, it will show a 3,000, sorry, not 3,000 mile. It'll show a 3-mile drop. You go down and you come right back up, but it's stuck in there for some reason. And that's why I've always kind of kept a little piece of me open for the square map, because I do find it extremely questionable why there would be a 3-mile drop out of nowhere. Obviously, the ocean doesn't drop, but if that is the place that you actually enter 4D space and the other side, maybe that has something to do with. It's right there, the edge of your map on the far left. That drop would be 3 miles down. And if you pull up Google Earth and use your tool, you would see it. I think everybody sees it. I just want to tell you that because it might help some of your research or something. Oh, wow, that's awesome.
This is the 3D presentation of it.
Are north and south have you gone, or just where the blue ends?
A square. you have a square in the middle, what is the photographic material. Then you have a square on top and a square on the bottom.
Gotcha.
Like here. This is the triple square on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Also, yeah, it's loading.
Just while that's loading, we've got another member who's come on. We've got Rob, who's there. Say hello, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
It's turned up very well, so I'm muting something.
Anyway, I'm glad you got on okay, because you were ringing in on the wrong link. Anyway, yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm on mute again, but yeah, it's good to be here because I'm great to hear Jeran talk to you guys. It's really cool. Take care. I'm on mute again now.
Thank you.
This is the combination between the photographic and the elevation data. And I just took a single pixel of a complete image to get the color of an image. And this is then
Beautiful.
500 times, so you can actually see the elevation. Otherwise, you won't see the elevation. It's so huge. The Earth itself is so huge. I mean, 40,000 kilometers advanced. What is it? 5 kilometers max?
It actually maps the idea of where they say the stratosphere is perfectly too. They say the stratosphere is they say that it's much lower at the poles, much higher at the equator, which is because the ground is much.
Yeah, no wonder. Pillars are north and south.
Exactly.
There's a pillar, here's a pillar, and there's a pillar. This is plus plus, this is plus minus. This is minus minus, and this is minus plus. Here this mountain range beneath, and here you have a valley beneath.
Right.
Very deep.
So the reason that our compass works to each or to north is because that's in between the plus minus and the minus plus.
Yeah, and it's actually 4 different polarities, because I call this plus plus because it's above land and a mountain. And this minus minus because it's below sea and a valley. And then here minus plus because it's below sea and a mountain range. And then here plus minus because we have here a valley on land.
Mm-hmm.
And what I also see is that this particular part here is the deepest part, and this is the less deeper part. This you can hear around here around this range here. You have depths of 10 kilometers deep or something. Half is the maximum I've seen so far.
And I do think the Pacific Ocean, isn't it deeper? I mean, I'm sorry, not deeper. Isn't the water level lower than the Atlantic?
Yes, the water level.
Yeah, I know it seems like that, but I think that they about 9 inches or a foot lower.
It could be because of the polarities.
Mm-hmm.
This
kind of shows, kind of looks like that from your image here. That I could see that. It almost looks like it's leaning to the left there, which doesn't mean that. I'm just saying that would be coincide with that. You know, because I know that science, everything that they tell us is not a lie, in the fact that if somebody can observe something or test it with actual, then they have to incorporate that into the master lie.
Yeah.
So I do think reviewing some of the their information, you can't just turn your back and say, well, everything that science does is wrong, because that's not true. But the one thing that we can't get to, space, that's where they can tell the biggest lie.
This is what goes wrong, and that's where we don't do our own empirical research to actually confirm everything. Believe in them, and that's the whole point where they have to keep us. But we actually never do the research ourselves. Lie is in everything, actually. It doesn't matter what institute you take, it's always about the same lie.
Yep.
And that is you giving the authority to somebody else.
And that's what you
your
that
own
in
life.
school. That's why they sit you in a desk and tell you the lady up front will be giving you all the facts, and your job is just to simply memorize them and then write them down in a test. That doesn't teach it. That's why all these globe believers, when you come at them and say something new, they say, "Where's your model? Show me the flat Earth. Show me the edge," because that's all people know is that
Yeah,
they will be given.
they told you the ball by showing you the false circle, saying that there's an edge where people are falling off.
Right.
And so they sell you the ball. But it's both evil, only the ball is lesser evil. System.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that through the whole trolling and promoting of the circle. And that's the control position for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you get that, but I also
I can't
just know.
put the photographic empirical detail on it without distorting it.
And what I'm saying, I haven't heard anybody say that yet.
Showing you the truth right in your face. But they just don't tell you about it.
Right, and I haven't heard anybody say that yet. That's extremely interesting, and I want to look into that because if that's true, then you're right. Then that is the layout. But then it gets to the fact of basically, because this too would prove a mind, a creator.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what the block is.
Yeah.
And it could be that that's what they but when I hear controlled opposition, or that's something that Laurie and Lawrence would say, that the Globebusters are pushing the circle map and that we're knowingly doing. No, we're not. We're looking for the truth.
No.
That
Better.
Hmm?
This is where I'm probably unique in, and that is that I'm actually a programmer.
Mhm.
All this shit and how I can actually reach it. I'm the hacker of Google in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So from that, I put all this data together.
Yeah, it's awesome. I really like it. Have you guys talked to Darren Nesbitt much?
No, I don't think we have.
Well, a little bit on Facebook. That's about it.
Because I know he's found the errors in the. Started talking about the flat, and I know we had a conversation on Skype probably about 3 weeks ago, and he'd be somebody you guys would want to talk to because I know he's doing a lot of research on the idea of the square map as well.
Yeah.
So, is there any or I don't know your group? So, or is there Bible believers in the group?
Yeah, in a sense, so far it has to connect, and so far I find it only connecting.
How do you rationalize the Isaiah line that the circle of the earth?
It's still the 360 ice wall in the south, but it is a straight line. It's not a circle in three-dimensional sense, but a circle in four-dimensional sense.
Okay.
It's never,
What about series? What about explaining?
Straight in there that it is in a kind of dimensional cube, but it doesn't. The circle isn't denied with this in this sense.
Series, what about explaining the 360-degree bubble?
Yeah, you have indeed your own toroidal field in where you can leave the world. And that is also a circle around you because you are the center of it.
Correct.
And
Yep.
when you put yourself on this map, you have to put yourself as well in the middle of the map. By just cutting off one side, glue it to the other side, mark the center of that particular map.
Because you're always the center. But then I still have the same question about. Can you answer that for me? That would be the one thing that I still don't understand. I do understand north, east, west. You would cut off the east side and put it on the west side. That makes sense, but you can't do that north south. So what is the answer there?
The fifth dimensional circle. If you realize how 4D works,
Just to explain, Jeran, what it is you're looking at Ceres' web page. On their website. On there we have all our readings. And obviously, eventually, hopefully, the group comes with us off of, well, you can stay on Facebook, but the group will also be on Ceres' webpage. Some of us are on there. I put in a lot of the readings, and we obviously have to prove it. So we like compass readings that have got pictures on them. And so we've got a whole database there. And that's what Jason tried to take.
Yeah, those guys are a joke.
Yeah.
Would compass readings even help you though if what Siri's saying is true? Because then to me it would that the compass is actually would be showing a bent the bent idea.
At the bending of light. That
Right.
should show. Because that is going through the fourth dimension in the sense that you have also the north and south pillars. Those are magnetic pillars on by the Earth and the sky is as well.
And so, because somebody who's
If
let's say you're
this drawing here,
you
exactly in the middle is our square. Where we
Ceres, we don't see it. We just see your webpage, the logo.
I don't see anything right now.
You're not showing what you're talking about.
to explain. You see all the drawings here?
I just see the webpage.
All that's showing at the moment, Ceres, is your motto.
Oh.
You need to
Oh,
screen share
okay.
again. You need to screen share again.
Does it show now?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We are in the middle of this, and then you have the first. What I do is you have the square size, and you have that circle size, but is actually missing a piece in the square on the top and on the bottom. Though I draw with blue and green here, and eventually they line up again. And that's 13 square, and I think, yeah, 13 from the center, and 15 circles. Lines up again. And
How far north do they meet?
13 squares. That's times 24,000 miles.
Okay, gotcha.
And at you see here the first blue square. That is where the 13 and the 13 are lining up. And then the bigger blue square, that is where the 26, the heaven itself. And it's the same as there, and in the north, and in the south. It's all the same point in a sense, that it is the same as here. I just draw it flat.
So when you say, I don't know, New York and India, what is the reason that they do the big arc? Why do they head up by the North Pole? Why do they go up by Greenland?
If you ask me, in a way, they're also fooling us.
Right.
What I figure also is to add these particular flight lines to make you, in a way, addicted to the circle.
Mm-hmm.
By flying first north and then south.
Click on that image right there that your mouse is over. Can you bring that image up? The one that showed the
Shit.
How many windows have you got open, Ceres?
I'll draw a little sharper. It takes a while to get off the first line. All this information disappearing in a single pixel.
And when you lay all those images out, there's no overlap at all. They're as is. The squares are as is.
Yeah, the normal square is as is. That's where I base the elevation data also on.
Mm-hmm.
What I know is they request their images in X, Y, Z coordinates.
Mm-hmm.
You have to translate those through a latitudinal wave function.
Mm-hmm.
Get it from the latitude longitude.
Right, which is the same way GPS.
Detect here the longitudinal distance, but the latitude is completely twisted. I have one, this one.
Wait, the latitude is twisted?
The latitude is twisted. You see the purple line here? This is the particular wave, what happens with the latitude. Here at the edge of the square, little part is where the complete bottom square is pushed in. And then at the top you have the same little distance here, where the complete top square is pushed in and almost disappears in a single pixel. That's inspiration.
It's also the bottom of that wave.
Middle is stretched even.
Right.
What I also did was this one. This is the minus 85 latitude, plus 85 latitude, and this is north and south, and then east and west, though, because then you have to this way.
Right.
When you take the circle in the middle, and then you take a leaf from the east-west, then the leaf for that is actually ending up here at this particular point of the triangle, which you see here. Angle ends up there, and the next triangle ends up there. This distance is twice as big as this distance. So I'm getting shorter every time in north-south direction. But east-west is just a single step, purple circle here.
Mm-hmm.
You have two of these flower of life frequencies crossing each other as a cross. East-west is how the sky actually works. The spiritual energies. This is the spiritual direction. And then you have the north-south, and that is the physical direction. So it's working together of spirit and physical, of the flesh and the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see here is the particular wave function. And then here you see on the ball projection how it actually looks at the ball projection, but this is the I value. Here it is the latitudinal value, what you see. And you can see that it is actually bending the other way around. This goes from east to west, and this goes from north to south. And that way you create the ball projection, or the GPS projection actually. Ball projection is that you even adjust the longitude for it. And then you get this particular drop format or the diamond map. But then with a more flowing line on the edge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's all distorting. All distorting the original XY coordinates. Once I actually can work with and also calculate distances between, no matter what point and where point. Although you have to take into account that when you are taking a distance from this point to that point, that you go through the fourth dimension to the other side. Making this point where you begin at the middle of the map, so you can see where the other point actually is. And always take the shortest distance.
The only thing that makes me apprehensive about this is that I think it would be almost impossible to ever have this become the reality, because people have already been given something that works better in their minds than I think that even if we put all of our heads together on this for years and years, that the idea of fourth dimensional space is not something that's really needed on the globe. Now, it's untrue. I agree with you on that 100%. But I just
hide it through the globe.
Huh?
Actually, they hide it with the globe.
Yeah,
because you can't explain it another way in the three-dimensional sense. But the whole existence is multidimensional in nature.
right. And I think that's true. And so, but the problem becomes, how do you convince somebody who has been taught only 3D that there's a 4D if the 3D explanation that they've already been given works in their mind?
Like, the only thing what I can actually explain to people of how the mathematical side of all these projections work. I mean, first you have a square, and then you have a very thin square, and then you have a smaller square, and from this data you create this data. It's impossible. You lose only data from right to the left. But from the left to the right, to project everything. But never from right to left. You will lose data. You won't end up with the same image.
Right. So to keep the same image, all you can do is lay them down and them be as they are.
Yeah, and that adds up to the complete square of the world. And then with the missing 5 degree of the latitude, the formula with this wave.
Series, as you've shown Jeran this, you may as well show him the other bit you've done as well with the Buddha.
Yeah, I find that.
Because I think he'd be very interested.
Yeah, when I put in the limas are actually the tropics.
We don't see anything yet, okay. So we don't see anything yet, but you're getting there.
This purple line is and this is the equator. And I've done a crossing point of it on a lima, where is the orange circle, but it's interfered with the blue one as well. In three-dimensional sense, that the north circle is a small one in lower orbit, and then the southern bigger circle is the one higher. And then you see that here with the moon the same. And this looked to me very, very much as the Mandelbrot fractal, so I put on the Mandelbrot fractal this particular circle only with it, and then the rest you see fall in place, that it even matches the tropic. And it seems that these are older images already. It seems even that it is the other way around. The sun is creating the moon analima, and the moon the sun analima in the Mandelbrot. So they're even connected in that way. All those fractals. Hello. Oh. That's something good. Yeah. And eventually somebody saw the Buddha in that particular image, what I created in the beginning. And so I began lining up the Buddha the same. And I came, what you see here is the fourth dimensional looping of the same Mandelbrot, what is based on the complete square. In the center is then it's exactly lining up with the analimas in the Buddha. And I discovered that even on the bigger map, so much things.
For some reason, I see the Last Supper in there too. I don't know. I have to look. It just looks like the Last Supper.
Here, the cross of the tree of life.
So what it means is, Jeran, we live in God. We're already here. He's here. He's everything. He's everything around us, in us. He's here. He's never been anywhere else but here.
The body is Buddha itself. So much that even Iceland here is eyebrow above land, and then here below land. This is the ear of Buddha. And the most point is Iceland itself. I can load a bit bigger.
Yeah, we can only see your eye at the moment, series, really. Judith wants to ask a question. Just wait a minute, Judith. Just wait a minute.
I think you do.
Ask away.
Oh, go on then, Judith.
Thank you.
Yes, hello everybody. I just want to say, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think Jeran's talking. Yeah. Sorry.
Eric is talking.
Right.
Oh, Eric. Someone's.
Mute your mic.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to say I see a video and they speak about CERN in Switzerland and they find the 4D. Yeah.
Cool.
They found 4D. We found it also.
It's not just 4D though, is it, series? There's more.
Exactly on the line between the flower of tree of life. And then you have the center of the sunflower, and then the center of the north. The line, white line between the two is where CERN actually is placed.
The other dots are the pyramids. We've put some of the pyramids on.
Yeah. You're not sure what that is. Oh yeah, and then from some kind of source I got also the way out in the north. Big purple circle. That was the particular of the mountain range. I can maybe put some things out.
That's all water.
Yeah, this is all below sea, and then here we get chance.
This is in all the elevation data that series found.
And then here.
And that's all below?
It's all below.
So Antarctica's really high, and above Russia's low.
And it goes way beyond. Didn't load completely the map. I stopped loading the complete map from level 11.
And so what's like your idea about it?
It's beyond the northern square. It must be because it's not in the data.
We live in the heart garden life.
You take the. Do you know the boom on the post?
Yeah.
From Axel as well. that actually explains the whole sky in how you see the sky projection from the fifth dimension. This is the whole fifth dimensional line. What is a circle? And halfway that line you have the Polaris axis, and halfway that line the Southern Cross, and projected into our sky in that sense. And this is then a complete circle, and then this is 12 hours, and that is 12 hours, half of the circle.
Mm-hmm.
See on the side. The wheel is turning in north in this axis and in south in that axis, and that's where you have this, or what is it, the actual axis of the stars in the sense. Only the top part of it, so everything here we see and everything there we see, or the other way around. It depends on how it is turned in electromagnetic sense.
Right.
It's the realms themselves are like ours, and static in position. See everything through the sky. We see each other in a sense. What I still can't figure out is how you actually get beyond the fifth dimensional circle, because that's a circle as well, and you have then the sixth dimension. What is the up down? That works is it looks like we are on a plane in the fourth and the fifth dimension. We are the living body expressing it in 3D and only having the sensors of 3D. The rest is pure spiritual, pure in a higher thinking level. I've combined here a lot of images.
But the physical is a reality, right? It's not a.
The physical is a reality. The spiritual is a reality as well, not in the physical sense.
Right.
This is where astrology, for example, comes in. This is where Santos Bonacci's work completely connects to this. We have all those electromagnetic influences, and emotions are also energies. This particular image here on the bottom is where the Earth is, and then there's the half circle and then half a circle. And what I figured it is either the 26 squares or the 13 times 26 squares. And this image, from this image, I created this image, in where you have the 7 chakras, or actually the 4 heavens with the 3 earths, in where we are the middle garden, and this then seen as a complete tree again. And the 7 snakes above Buddha are actually these 7 heavens. And that's connecting to the flower of life, or actually the fruit of life. And the nose of Buddha is lining up with Iceland, and then how the eyebrow is, and the right eyebrow, and then the not here. Well, could be even that this one is there. I've tried so many stuff. Yeah, the Buddha, the fat belly Buddha, is just a presentation of the Mandelbrot fractal. I'm missing a large piece of the magnetical map. This is the ETM projection, but then in the double square projection of the ball, OPS. So they cut off even north and south an extra part. And this is what it's on my map. I've looked at east-west. Yeah. It's a little bit small, I guess. The lines are lining up with the elevation data. And then you have all these blue and red lines as the magnetical data. Well, and I'm missing really how the pillars are working here. And funny, although that this is because of the tree of life is north-south orientated, but the flower of life is east-west orientated, and this is that particular cross of matter and of flesh and spirit. And then, funny enough, with this flower, but then it's exactly at a crossing point of two of the circles of them. Exactly in the middle. There is the center of the South Pole. There is actually the pillar, and there's the pillar, and there's a pillar, and there's a pillar on the flower of life pattern. This is the square. Have the firmament, and then this is the other half of the square. Every type of I've put over it. Tree of life within. Yeah, I began drawing the flower of life to figure out that it needed a looping. Here you can see this one is top-down orientated, and where you have the center square with the center circle, a step beyond, and then it's exactly the square again. But the other way around, you end up with space between the edge of the circle and the square, and then more, and then more, and then eventually you will end up exactly in the same square again. Steps. And I figured the distance between this line here and the point of the triangle is, if you take this as 13 parts of this particular 15. So it's 13 divided by 15, what ends up with this particular point for the triangle. I didn't know what the number was. Eventually, I just what was it? Just filled in the numbers to see the circles actually lining up, and I had figured it out for at least two figures behind the comma.
Can I just say that we've got?
Later I figured it was just a division of 13 divided by 15.
Series, just to say that we've got Alan with us. Alan?
Oh, hi Alan.
Hello, how are you doing?
Anyway, Jeran, there's another reason we've hooked up with and we've met Alan. Alan, can you just explain a tiny bit what you found? Because it links in with what Series is doing.
That relates to Sirius's as well?
Yeah, like when I met you and I was gobsmacked.
Oh yeah. Basically, I've been doing research with a company for a number of years on free energy devices, but we found another use for the work we were doing,
we found out that when we were reflecting scalar waves up into the upper atmosphere and reflected down to receive when we were receiving the waves, it proved we had a dome. Thought it was the firmament to begin with. We did more tests, and it appears there is definitely 100% a dome above us, well, firmament. Whether that be a field or glass, I don't know. I don't know that part of it. But also the other research work I did also ties in with series work. Where he talks about the dimensions of the flat Earth, basically.
What it is that Alan had two pieces of equipment, right? One is his own and one is work. And the work one was finding the north, east, south, west edge. And then his other one, which, because he knew about that, he's found the one above, which is the dome. But he's also found something else, haven't you, Alan?
Yes, the heartbeat, the Earth's heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we live in the heart garden of the tree of life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's
Alan,
kind of the ultimate reason for the tides.
Exactly.
and Alan can pick the heartbeat up.
Yes. I've got it recorded somewhere, haven't I, Karen?
Yeah.
I don't know where you got it.
I have somewhere.
Yeah. Yes, I've got it somewhere as well, but obviously the channel was taken down, so I don't have it at the moment.
I don't know if it would come across very well on the Hangout, to be honest. If we sort of went and got it and played it, I don't know how well it would come out. And maybe it's something that Jeran needs to hear, you know, on his own. I'm sure we can find him a link.
Yes. Yes, because it's got to be listened to at full volume. So
I've got it. I've got a little video I can send him.
Yeah.
So you see, Jeran, we're not really that secret, are we? Look who we're getting together. We're having hangouts now with Santos, who's also interested in what series he's doing. And, you know, we're talking to you now. We've met Alan it's because of Dee taking me to an event. And then it was a space centre. So they went off to play. And I got left with Alan. And then the night before, Ceres had done the Tree of Garden and said we live in the heart garden of the Tree of Garden. And then the next day I met the man who'd heard it.
What's the chance?
Yeah, so you see, we're a building community here. It's just we
Yeah,
don't.
It's great. What I figure is, it's only handy to give those the information who actually eat it, to discover what it says. So I'm trying to get those people together in a hangout.
Yeah, the only thing I would come back to that with,
of it.
you don't know who needs it, meaning that there's a lot of people out there researching that they need it. But I agree with, I don't have a problem with what you're doing. It's
yeah, but not everyone is kind of memeing, trolling, etc. But there are many who are just sort of following the group, same as with the circle.
Yeah,
and
because that's how they were taught. Again, we were all taught to sit in a desk and we would be receiving truth. So that's why I know people are like that. They're lazy.
Exactly, and the lazy ones I try to avoid, because the actual ones who actually want to know get my full attention for it, because they actually eat it to get to know and to get to an understanding of this.
And also, our group is growing, you know, but we're invite only because we just don't want arguing and we want, you know, obviously Eric is a new person in our group. He's been in our group a few weeks and this is his first hangout. But we are trying to get to know the members of the group. We need to trust each other. and grow as a community. And can I just say this one thing, and I really hope you don't take this the wrong way. Why don't you, Mark Sargent, the whole lot have hangouts together? Because then you would be stronger, and then it would show the world that this is serious. So, in a sense, it's left to smaller groups like us to start doing this. And this is what we're doing now. We're trying to build a community. I mean, from today, Jeran, you can join our group. You know, I'll add you. And you can just keep, you know, we should keep together. That's what I reckon. But we just don't, you know, you start trying to put things on Facebook. People are so nasty. We just don't want all that. We're not in argument with each other. We just want to know the truth.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I have no problem with what you're doing. Your method is working and is great, and my method is different than that, because everything that I learn, everything that I find out, I want to put out there, because there might be somebody else out there that will hear something I say, and I know that's happened a ton of times already, and then they take it off in their own direction. And as a result of that, I have to deal with the constant hate and the videos made about me and the people calling me a shill and a liar and I'm gatekeeping. And, you know, that's just the method I've already taken. It's not like I can really do anything
But I
about it
suppose
now.
you're kind of doing this on your own, aren't you? We're doing this as a group. You know,
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
every week we put these videos out. We're having Hangout. Series talks about what he's doing, where he's got to. So we're doing it for the whole group. Whereas, I don't mean that to sound rude or anything, but Jeranism, you're a person in your own right. Look at your YouTube following. Look at the whole of you. Look at what, you know, your Hangouts, your everything. So when you make a decision, you make it for yourself. We're making a decision with a group. We're trying to get this group to come with us without stealing it, lying, you know, and I really think it's working, and our group is growing weekly. But it's not necessarily about the volume, like Siri says. It's about people who are helping and on this journey and together with us. There's no point, you know, if you just want to stick a meme up.
You know, and like I said, I agree with that. I don't have a problem with the method that you guys are using, because I've just chosen a different method, and my wife and I have come to the conclusion, the reason we got on this whole trip to start was because we said that we had been jaded so many times by so many people throughout life, been lied to at every possible turn, that the best method to find the truth would be to build your understanding and your belief structure from the ground up based on things that you could yourself prove. And so for us, we did not get involved in any groups. It's been kind of a point that I've done, that I don't want to get involved in any groups, because as soon as you do, if somebody in that group does something, you know, wrong or whatever, then you're going to be included. And I never wanted to have to answer for anybody else. As far as Globebusters, that started with Bob, you know, coming on because he's a pilot, and people enjoyed the conversation. Yeah. And made sure we don't even talk off air. I mean, we don't, you know, occasionally he'll text me or I'll text him something, or, hey, can you look at this image? But I mean, as far as like sitting down and going over each other's work, we really don't do that, because he has his line of research, I have mine, and we ultimately think that bringing that all together and kind of bouncing it off each other on Sundays live is what people have enjoyed hearing, and so that's what we've been doing. But I don't have a problem with it.
But can I ask you, why don't you all try and have a hangout, stick it on YouTube? You know, they're keeping us on YouTube, they're keeping us at Facebook level. You're the big people, we're only the small people. You know, why don't you all come together? Why don't you even just do it once? Mark Sargent, Crow77, you, whoever else.
I think it comes down to people being extremely, and that's why I say I don't have a problem with what you guys are doing, because what you've done is you've built a trust structure based on people getting together and conversating week after week after week. And that's something that right off the bat, people, right from the very start, and, you know, the difference is too, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or anything, but when I started, there was nobody else. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a matter of, I'm going to come out with my information. I'm going to speak out. People can follow me if they want, or they can tell me I'm crazy. And if I only have 5 subscribers after a month or 2, then I'm going to realize I'm an idiot. And that's not what happened. People congregated around the idea of speaking about our observations, questioning authority. And the more I researched, I just said, you know what, I'll research things throughout the week. I'll put videos out and show my research. This way, if people have researched something else or something else that they've done shows another avenue, then they will come at me, and that's how I'll form the truth. So I'm certainly not upset at the method I took. I think it was the best way for me to come out of the blocks, and I don't regret any part of that. But as far as getting in any groups or that, I was always afraid that there would be a possibility of somebody steering me in the wrong direction.
That's hence we're on secret. That's hence we're on secret. My group is.
That's what I said.
My group is zero tolerance on that. You know, a lot of this stuff. I don't know why people want to make it public. If you've got something to say, write to that person privately. No, they have to go and stick it in front. So that, you know, it's always about egos and things. I can't stand it.
Yeah, attacking the person.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And I've never attacked anybody first, but I have an absolute problem like anybody else.
I did like your video on Jason and Ronnie. I'm sorry, I did.
Well, yeah, once somebody's come at you and you know, said some lies, it's just impossible for me just to ignore that. And I should learn how to do it.
Can I just say something? It's digressing a tiny bit, but Jason had everything. He had a following. You know, he had his own, like, you know, there wasn't many people talking about Simulation Sun and what he was doing. And then suddenly with Ronnie, I don't know. And then honestly, they sent Q&V in. Q&V hacked the site 6 times. He tried to get Series' information. And it's like...
Yeah, they communicated the login via Skype. I could see that in the logs.
On his program.
And he tried several ways to actually hack my site through... a false login or using actually a special program to rip a complete site empty. And my site doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I you know, once somebody has jaded me at some point, then I don't even pay attention to them. QNFE, after my wife and I did the 4-mile laser test, where we were on one side of the beach and the photographer that I'd hired was on the other side of the beach. And I was talking on my cell phone to him, and I said, make sure you get an image of the tripod where the camera is, get all this stuff and send it to me, because we were 4 miles away. And so he did all that stuff, he took pictures and everything was good. Well, yeah, it was probably 6 months later or 8 months later, QNFE made a video that said that the image was, that I had faked the image of the camera on the tripod. I'm like, dude, that wasn't even me. I was on the other side of the, and it was just like, I was like, I'm done with this guy. Like, I don't want anything to do with him. And basically, these guys, they all get on this little trip where they think they found something, or they think that they've discovered something, and so they start speaking out about it. What was that?
And then completely think they can debunk somebody else.
Right, and they just go off on this little trip, and then what happens is this is something I've noticed that I don't know why nobody else notices this, but when somebody speaks out like Ronnie did, Ronnie comes out and says that Jeran's lying about this or whatever, and then they'll have like that 10 or 20 people that quickly gravitate to that and say, yeah, you're right, we hate that guy, he's a shill.
Yeah.
And what that does is it pushes those people further in that direction because they see immediate results. They think, oh yeah, this is great, I'll just go on this and now I'll get this backing. What they don't realize is that there's thousands of people who see that and it turns them off them. And I don't want to put it away, but it's killed their whole, I'll say, career. They have nothing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to you. Jason had everything. He really didn't need Ronnie. Ronnie
No, he didn't. And Ronnie's been there numerous times.
Ronnie's lost everything because Laurie kicked him out. We kicked him out. He was in our group. They joined our program. It was all documented. And even on a Hangout, I've got Jason saying that Q&V was a hacker and he sent Q&V in.
Yeah, and I wasn't trustworthy. Yeah, right.
And it's so easy just to, for somebody, and I know you guys will understand this, but when you know yourself is not a shill, obviously, when you know yourself is not psyop, that you came to these conclusions yourself, it's funny when people go off on this trip calling you that because you know that you're not. So it's like, that's the quickest way for me to judge somebody's amount of research is,
Yeah, and do you
when
know
somebody
something
goes off on
else?
that
They
trip,
only had to ask.
Michelle.
They only had to ask Series for it. He would have given it to them. They
Right.
only had to
when
ask
you're
Series.
just out there stealing people's information, they stole that map from Cami anyway. I mean, that not that it doesn't matter. None of us have ever cared about whose information it is. That's when I put stuff out there, I certainly don't say. Remember to say that it was me who thought of this. I don't care about that. So, and neither does Bob, and neither does Cami. But it was still weird that he goes on and asks Bob for that map, and then Bob sends it to him, and the next week he's on Lori's show with that map.
See what Dave Petman says 1 hour ago.
I think a big problem with these kind of like existential ideas is that we're going to have to at one point kind of keep on the one. Okay, it's flat. Like one, we'll all agree on one point, but from one point to bring like I always kind of bring this up as bring up the metaphysical into the tangible. That's a big leap that a lot of people aren't like ready to take if they're going to at least believe in flat Earth theory, they'll call it, or flat Earth whatever. We'll get into the we'll get into the flat Earth, but once you start talking about realms and telepathy and existential and all these words that have been kind of hidden from us and blocked out, squared out, and circled and everything, they're gonna block out, and it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be a big joke. So if we keep these little groups, we keep them on the side, on the low key, and we keep digging into the metaphysical and trying to show some type of aspect that is actually visible or that you can prove to your own self by just either thinking about it or.
That's why my mind has changed. That's why my mind changed it from the beginning of this till now, because what you're doing needs to be better formulated before you put it out there. Because it is it's a higher level understanding that isn't just for a first timer. And I'm not saying my stuff is junior or anything like that, but what I'm talking about is more in line with questioning these things that we've been told. Look at this space footage. Look at NASA. It's garbage. I don't promote the Gleason's map. I don't do a lot of that. I do show some things on it, like flight paths and other things that I'm bouncing off of it. But I make a point to tell people that it's not by any stretch. But I also think, in a weird way, this map, maybe it's just for me, but seeing that map was the very first time my mind allowed itself to tip over the edge of understanding that you can have planes go around the Earth and circumnavigate and it not be a ball. So I don't think when people come out,
First step is the flat, and the second step is the square.
Right.
And that's what I see in this.
Yeah, and this is what I told Lori when Lori came out. Lori made that one video where she said, it's either the Pac-Man or the globe, is what she said. And because they said it's not the circle map, we've proven it wrong. And what I was trying to tell her, and I said it in a private message at one point, and she didn't care. I said, researching the idea of the square map with the Pac-Man, that's fine. Keep going in your direction and allow us. We're not saying that the circle map is correct, so allow us to continue on our. In the end, people will move towards the evidence, because people get upset at numbers and they see that we have more people are watching our show than hers. Well, they're going to attack us. It's what's going to happen. And it sucks because I don't think we want to be dogmatic either. We can't just say, well, you have to believe this or you're out of the club. That's science. That's what science says, right? If you don't believe in the globe, you're out. You bring whatever papers you want. Doesn't matter. As long as you believe in the globe, we'll look at them. But as soon as you start treading on our dogmatic axioms, then they kick you out. Well, that's obviously not the right way to go because you could be wrong. So I do like everyone's areas of research. And if I'm saying something that can be objectively disproven, because that's certainly not the direction I'm going. Is if I'm saying
not on the ego.
Tell me.
Yeah, and also they've had problems, haven't they? So this is why they've lost. And when you go to any of the hangouts with Jason, they're not really talking about anything. Whereas at least today we've been talking about stuff. You've been listening. You've been saying some of your stuff. That's not what's happening in lots of places. But anyway, so Series, were you showing him something on your map, or had you finished?
Well, I have another example. Dave Batman. I don't know what his problem is, but this is the kind of stuff he is mentioning. Demeter was deleted for deliberately delivery of Satanist disinfo.
So what? Who are you talking about? Somebody that's in your group has eliminated something else?
Yeah.
I think he's out now. I think
he was in our group, and he went mad last week, and then he was calling us all trolls, and yet he was the troll. I don't see it, Series.
Oh, you can't see my...
And the thing is that he just went... He was in our group, he was really quiet, and then he just went ballistic last week. Oh, right.
And what was that?
He doesn't believe in the 4D. He shoves me under all the people we actually have banned. The whole list.
And that's what I'm talking about. Is that some people have jumped on this because a lot of people have been talking about, even myself, that the idea of a globe is metaphysical to me. It's not reality. There isn't somebody on the other end of the earth. They've had to include extra things with it, like things pulling balls balls pulling things to the center, which they can't show in any kind of evidence. That there's a bunch of things that come with it that we've never observed. The idea of the ocean or the beach at Australia is level, and so is the beach at California is level, and the water from here to there is level. It's very metaphysical. It's not reality. It's an idea. It's a thought concept. Same thing with orbits. Same thing with those things are all ideas that Newton proposed 500 years ago, 400 years ago. So I think a lot of people have joined this idea or this quest because the idea of the flat map, and again, going back to kind of the idea of Gleason's, thrones, all that stuff better fits people's idea of reality. So I do think that the Ford thing kind of throws a wrench in that.
Yeah.
But reality, I'm looking for the truth. So it doesn't matter to me what turns out to be true. If the ball is true, you'll see me on making videos saying the Earth is a globe and how we know it's true and what evidence I have to show that.
Yeah.
I'm just about the truth. So it certainly isn't about, oh, well, then I'm not talking about that because it's against what I believe. No, that's not the point. The point is pulling everybody's resources together, getting the facts and the evidence. And I think what you've shown on the Google Earth is hugely important, because I haven't seen anybody describe it that way.
Thank you, Jeran. Jeran, that's one of the first people that's ever said that, isn't he, Series?
Ever said what?
He just said it's really important what you've done. He's the first person to have said that.
Yeah, and I can tell the work that's gone into it because I know how much work goes into all this stuff. So, I want to look into that more, because if those images are lining and not overlapping, even slightly, because again, the amount of twist or turn there would be, say, at the 35-degree north latitude, would be so minuscule to make a circle. We look at the Gleason's map and some people say, well, that's ridiculous. You'd be turning the whole time. Well, no, it's a much larger, unfathomable size circle. It's not like what people are picturing. You would not notice that you were turning. But if the images are squaring up, then that cannot be turned.
Exactly. That's the whole point. What I try to bring over to people, that they understand that I'm working from the empirical detail.
Right. How far do you think? What is your eye level when you pretty consistently see what you would call an image, not digital representation.
What do you mean high level?
How on Google Earth it says your eye level. Like, how high up do you think it is that you are?
Looking at the picture.
Yeah, looking at the picture. How high up are you when you are sure that you're looking at an image, not digital?
That level, mean that you can actually see the details.
Yeah, so much that you would be able to say, absolutely, this is an image, not digital, not a CGI.
Especially when it's of your own location.
Right.
That's where the actual proof is found, because that's what you can make empirical for yourself. The more people can do that for themselves through this tool, then actually everybody's proving their own empirical location.
True, but I mean, if you were to ask me, okay, Jeran, where on your location is it that you're sure that it's a picture? Okay, at 2 miles up here, I'm sure this is an image. Well, if you got that from me and somebody else and Mary over here and John and Terry, and we all are saying the same number, then you might from that be able to say, okay, everywhere at 2 miles is an image. Just an idea. It might help. So you don't have to go so far down. If everyone agrees that at a certain height it is the image of where they live, then you might be able to lessen the amount of work you have to do, because you don't have to go to the nitty-gritty image. You can take images from higher up.
Yeah, level 16, 17, 18, around there, your local city is found. In that sense,
Jeran, Series has been downloading this since September.
Yeah, I bet, because there's probably a zillion pictures he has to download. What I'm saying is, maybe you don't need to download so many, because if you get a certain level of height and everyone agrees that that is an image, then you don't need to dig further, is what I'm saying.
If we all own some Lockheed U2 at 90,000 plus, I think we could get some good images.
And so far, I've been blocked for the whole day now. What normally takes only 10 minutes, so I'm a more permanent block or something. Because I'm always downloading data. Day in, day out, you know. Well, the elevation data is actually the most important one, because that actually shows beyond north and south. So far, the photographic level already.
And it also means they're lying about Greenland and they're lying about Africa. It doesn't mean Africa's not a great place, but it's not as big as they say it is. But Greenland is.
Yeah. What people take from science is the size of a country doesn't match up in the map. Yeah. Did you measure it yourself?
Uh-huh.
How big it actually is in reality? Don't say anything about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They're in charge of the data.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And in so far, I can actually calculate the complete. What is it? What's the word? Oppervlakte.
And also, Antarctica was a great place and really high. And it makes Everest. Series' favourite word for that is toothpick. Everest is a toothpick.
Yeah. Mount Everest is like a toothpick compared to the huge mountain Antarctica and the huge mountain on Greenland. It's
because they're up higher to start, huh?
Forest. People will say, yeah, but Mount Everest is the highest. Yeah, but it's only a toothpick to the most.
There's something else you can explain as well. I know that's not a full map there, but the water that is below South America, Africa, and Australia, that water is really, really deep, and there are just deeper parts in the water above Russia, but the water down there is really deep.
Mm-hmm. This particular rim where you have this 10 kilometers and 10 kilometers deep and 6 to 5 kilometers deep sea. That is the main depth of the whole sea. But this particular part has twice deep, almost. Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I don't think your screen is showing again.
I can see it. Oh.
He's staying in the same place. I didn't know if he was moving it around.
Slow or feel, I guess. But you can see in the north how much extra data there is, and
We can't see anything now, series.
actually lines up with the cloud of life as well.
Series, we can't see
Funny things
anything. We can't see anything. We can now.
Even kijken, Sun on the Broad, that's a small one. What I did was lining up the flower of life pattern with the crossing of the sun on the Lima. The yellow wave is the sun wave of the Analima, and the blue wave the moon wave of the Analima. The crossing of the two waves I put on the equator.
We're only looking at Antarctica at the moment, series. Series. We're only looking at Antarctica at the moment.
Oh, pretty slow on the other side, I guess. Well, let's just share it. You see it now?
Measure a bit quickly and see if that jerky, but it's, yeah, we're seeing.
D, are you talking to us? He's put his microphone off now.
Yeah, he is talking, but a little bit off.
Sorry, carry on, series.
What I did? You have the sun.
Yeah, I was just saying. So I'm just trying to say, yeah, I could see movement and stuff now, so we're getting the screen and stuff.
All right. What I did was the sun and the moon wave I crossed on the equator, and then the outflow I have connected to the crossing of the Analimos. Everything actually lined it up. This particular circle is and this is the middle of this huge valley. Actually. How it lines up with Norse is a bit mystery. I have here a huge mountain in the sea and here a valley. But this one actually lines up pretty well. And then you have this, what I began with, this wave in the south. It's exactly in the middle of the top wave, and this in the below wave. And the line itself is exactly between the separation of the wave and the rest of the world. As if the tree of life is actually standing in the ground of south, growing upwards into the world, and then you see in the north the branches of the tree. They're structured. And what you also can see, the edge itself in the north at a single pixel. And the same with the south, it just can't line up with the same pixel because the colors are different. It's different heights. And the difference is not that large enough to make it show that it does. Yeah, from here with the Mandelbrot, I came on the Buddha and eventually the bigger ones. It takes a while to draw the larger one. and this fifth dimensional circle, and all the vibrations, how that actually works between the vibration of the square and the circle, and repeating on where 13 and 15 are conjunct as well. That's the, okay, for which one? This one. Green, blue, green, blue, green, blue, and then a wave pattern, and then at some point they line up. There I draw also a square. There it lines up again, and I draw also a square. And then this is halfway. It's the complete. This one is the first 13 and 13 step. So 13 times this, these lineups. 6 for the complete half circle of the fifth dimension, and the other half is on the other side. And that point and north and south are the same as here. But yeah, it's a bit different, difficult to draw a fifth dimensional in a two-dimensional display. Actually, the fourth and the fifth. And what you have also here is you have the spiritual wave and the matter wave. Matter circle and spiritual circle, and those are the crossing circles in where we see it back in our sky, even through the whole astrological influence through electromagnetism. Much it's in this that I cannot say other than this is just the map what it is. It explains it. That's the proof of it, and they show it all the time right in our face. And that's where they hide the truth the best. People just don't look. They know they don't like it.
I was going to say a little, just to add on to the whole, you just mentioned the 5D there, but the, I think it was in 2016 or 2013, they're trying to make it, but they call it the Eternal 5D Data Storage, or Superman Memory Crystals. I don't know if that says anything. It's from the Southampton University, ORC. And these crystals can hold like 360 GBs of data, like 22,000 iPhones. And they call it the Eternal 5D Data Storage. I just wanted to drop that in there because you mentioned 5D there, Sears, and maybe if you guys are going to continue on get into the crystals and stuff.
How they particular, because there are many multi-dimensional explanations, and the only one I think to this is the hypercube, for example.
You got hypercube, yeah, crystal formation, frequency.
Exactly, it's all within the flower of light frequencies, and then all those numbers. That's where you have to look how you square everything.
Also, Alan is still experimenting, aren't you, Alan? You're using crystals, just as Eric's talked about crystals.
Crystals for a long time.
He opens crystals, activate them, and when they are activated, you can actually use them as an eternal energy source.
Okay.
Sound is especially is the main energy source, as the word actually created everything. And what I figure is the presentation of the complete, in that it is a finite infinity. Zoom in, you find the same pattern back in infinite zooming, and the only border we have is actually how far the computer can calculate it in numbers. Limitation we have, but it goes forever in infinite detail. but it is finite between 1 and 2. 1 and 2.
Well, guys, I gotta go get something to eat and get to bed. It's nice hanging out with you guys.
Oh, thank you, Eric.
It's great being here.
Hang on, I'll come back because
Cheers.
I just turned my camera off because, well, my computer can only do so many things and hang. I get my camera off at the moment. Sorry, if you want to go, the button's not there. Come back button. This is your first hangout. Anyway, here it comes.
The great work, Jeranism series. Jeran, everybody did it.
Awesome. And I got to join here soon. Want to ask me or tell me now would be a good time, but it's a little past, but she doesn't need to know.
Sorry?
Just enjoyed your work, Jeranism with me, son. Big love. Big love.
And Terry, you're doing awesome work, man. I mean, that's interesting things I've heard in a long time. So definitely friend me on Facebook or whatever, but I would love to hear more about it. And then also I'm going to be looking at, even if it's just my city, if I can show the same thing that you're showing, then the way you can doubt that it is the square.
Oh.
One second then, Eric, if you want to go, thank you so much for joining us on the Hangout and come back on another one because I know this is your first Hangout.
Cheers. And I'm out.
Thank you very much then. Sorry, Jeran, what were you saying? What were you trying to say when Eric was going there? You were trying to say
Well, join you to the group. You can see the presentation actually. What me and Karen made together.
That'd be awesome.
So you're going to be. We can join you to the group, can we? We can join you to the group then. Jeran?
And I can friend you as well.
Yeah, what's your name on Facebook? I'll go ahead and do that right now.
Jeran, can I add you to Can I add you to our group then?
Go ahead and do that.
Friend request.
Sorry, are you going to come and...
What do you mean? Yeah, you go ahead and add me. You mean the Facebook group?
Yeah.
Sure.
Brilliant. I think, are you adding him privately then, Series? You adding him to your own Facebook?
As soon as you add it, I can find his account.
Okay, well, at the end of the Hangout, I will add Jeran to the group.
Okay.
Jeran, what I usually do is I just take a picture of your profile and say, this person's joined our group, welcome to our group.
Yeah, so, I mean, if I can, yeah, I was going to say, it's very nice to meet you, Jeran. Yeah, if you look into constant motion as well, it's just another nail in the coffin for the spinning globe.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of looking at earthquakes and volcanoes and stuff, and I mean, they say the reason we don't feel the spin of the Earth is because we're at a constant rate. But
yeah,
earthquakes and volcanoes, they change the rate, they change the axial rotation slightly, and it's very slight stuff, but it should be enough that we feel it. So just another for you to look at if you're interested as well. So.
And affect the wobble.
Definitely, no.
Make a wobble.
The motion thing is because if you face north for 10 minutes and then you turn south, your body is that is a complete change in the momentum that you would know in a second.
Yeah, we are built to actually feel a micrometer movement.
Absolutely.
Then can't we feel that? I mean, so many miles that way, so many miles that way, so many miles that way.
Yeah, they talk about it being like in a car or in a plane, and if you would definitely know that you would turn around.
Take my camera off. People don't get it, do we? If we were going that fast on a ball, why would you feel car sick?
Yeah.
It'd be nothing compared to... I think 2.2
They don't even
million miles
realise
an
what
hour.
they'd be seeing, though, would we? We wouldn't be seeing the same things as we see as a flat plane. Everything would be revolving. We'd be, you know, like to get to Australia, you'd have to do a figure of 8. I mean, how do you get upside down otherwise? The shadows would be all different. All the shadows would be different.
I feel bad for people because their heads are messed up, because they will tell you that they believe that the Earth is spinning and that they see the sky, you know, the sky is, even though it looks rotating, that it's actually us, but they don't really realize what that means. That a sunset means you're spinning back away from the sun, and nobody feels that at all. But we've all been in a car when the car next to us starts to move, and all of a sudden you think you're moving. You would have the same thing happen when looking at star trails or looking at the stars. You would occasionally get tripped up and have to remind yourself what's going on, and that doesn't happen because, very simply, you're built to know when you're stationary. Your body knows when you're stationary. It's only mentally, through being taught it and being told it, and the great scientists of the world and the intellectuals, that since they believe something, then people don't want to be in the group of idiots, and so they adopt that belief. And that's why, you know, go to any one of my videos and look at the comments. It's all people who believe in the globe who are just deflecting and calling other people idiots, because it scares the shit out of them that somebody has the balls to go against the mainstream thought and the mainstream belief, and they don't like it because
educated. You know, they can't think for themselves. They only repeat the same information over and over again. They already know that.
But listen though, we all believed it once, didn't we? We were all like we grew up at school. But like when you wake up and you suddenly put it all together, like for instance, just quickly, I know it's diversing a tiny bit, but Wilson, a group member, he made a bit of a video and he was trying to explain to people that the shuttle is basically, it doesn't have an engine in that, so it's what's the word? I can't think of the word. It's got no motors on it. So how do you expect it to join something that's going so fast? It can't, because it's a glider. Yeah, the shuttle's supposed to be a glider, but it actually docks onto something that's going thousands of miles an hour. It's just like,
well, I mean, here's the thing about
if you start thinking about it,
doesn't matter if you're going 10 miles per hour in space or 1 trillion miles in space. It doesn't matter. Speed doesn't matter because it count. There's no resistance. There's no particles out there. So that's part of the reason that people see it so easy. They just say, oh, well, we wouldn't feel it because we're traveling unabated in space. But the whole problem with that becomes the fact that, so now they can just say whatever. And you will never be able to disprove them, because they'll just say, well, that's how fast we're going, and you wouldn't feel it anyway. So, when you talk about could a glider, technically in their space world, where there is no air resistance, then you don't need a motor. You don't need an engine. You just need to propel yourself in the direction that you want to go at the right rate. It's not even a speed, because there's nothing passing you. There's no air. Your speed is all dictated by how much over the ground you're moving. That's how the ISS, they say it's 17,500 miles per hour. That's only because it travels that far over the Earth in an hour. But in space, it doesn't even matter. It's all words. It's not reality. There cannot be a vacuum of space. They talk about Einstein and the fabric of space-time. They say that matter bends the fabric of space-time. There's nothing to bend. Space is nothing. So how could mass bend nothing? It's all just, I don't know why they kept going with it. It's the stupidest thing science ever did, because it really wrecks their name.
Well, one of the reasons they had to do it, was they wanted to take God away. They had to. If you have a ball, evolution changes everything, and it questioned God. And since it was probably a bit before that, but the 1960s, for instance, we're all a generation that have grown up not really believing in God, and yet we're in God.
Yep.
We live in God.
Stronger even, not believing in yourself.
That's
how you serve Most High in that sense.
I'm a bit shocked, really, because
the I am is the expression where you are the image of, and only be. and that being is just taken away from us. We are completely written through the authority.
And that's a Jesuit thing. Because I went to a Jesuit high school, and I know that I had a problem with them teaching me both ends. I said, why is this school trying to teach me evolution and also teaching me religious studies? And now at this point, I see exactly what they're doing, and that's because they own you no matter where you choose to go. Whether you believe in science or whether you believe in religion, either one is a trap, because they both have you believing false things.
The two
They put out this narrative. Yeah, if you believe in yourself, if you believe that you are God, that's a blasphemy. And nobody's saying that they are God. Nobody's dumb enough to say, "Oh, I created this earth. I am God." No, nobody's saying that. But what people are saying when they're realizing that they are the Christ, they are the resurrected, they are the born again, they are the I am. That is you. That is, nobody's going to come save you. It's up to you to
pure responsibility for your own freedom.
Right.
That's what we need to figure out.
And that's the problem. Is I know I get a lot of slack for speaking out about Christianity, but I don't mind the Christian beliefs. People can believe whatever they want, but the idea of because I've had people come at me and say they are adamant. Jesus is the Savior. He's died for my sins. Well, those people have something in their past that they don't want to be held accountable for. And so they look at it as, if Jesus came and died for my sins, as long as I believe in him, I don't have to pay for my sins. And I don't think that's right. I think we all are going to have to be accountable for the actions that we've taken. And I think that there is forgiveness for anything you've done. You can turn the right way at any point, but people they've been suckered into these whole deals of religions and church, and the whole idea of, like I think you said earlier, that God is everywhere. It's not. It's a part of everything. This is everything that we are. Would not exist without the Creator. You couldn't exist. And so there is no God out there. There's nowhere you can look for God anywhere.
And it's even worse than that, because they told you salt is bad for you, but you need the unrefined salt. We're magnetic. We need that salt. They've told us the sun's bad for us when we actually really need those sun rays. Not because it's just warm and all that. Those rays, they're like food for our body. Polluting the air, polluting the water. And the other thing is that they've put us in plastic shoes when we should have our feet on the ground, or leather. We need the negative ions from the ground. These are foods for our body. And then they've got us as zombies watching television, giving us messages, and then a fake. Well, again, Wilson again, he just said, Rome hasn't really changed. The arena has just changed. It's on a television now. The television is the arena they want you watching. And most people don't do you know what it is as well, when we're saying, it's really difficult about how to get people to come over. There is a big section of people who aren't anti-flat earth. They just don't know it. They don't understand. They're not thinking. They haven't thought of all these things. They just don't. No. So they're living in the globe
Those
world.
Are the people who say, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? That is the dumbest thing anybody could ever say, and sadly, it's what they've been taught. They don't understand that there's even what difference does it make that I've been lied to my entire life? That's what people actually say.
Yeah, because it's taking away God, it's taking away your freedom, and in a sense, because it's an arena and it's already a stage and a show, it's some kind of, I don't know if the word's communism, but we're already in a set arena. They're already controlling us, so that's sort of communism. They're lying about the wars. Do you know the thing that really gets me? I'm really once you actually look into all this stuff, HAARP, for instance, it's in Alaska, America, South America, it's in England, it's in Norway, it's in Russia, it's in Europe, it's in the Middle East, it's in Japan and Australia. They cannot turn it off. It's on 24 hours a day. Not only do they play in the sky with it, they fire rays over us and beams that make us depressed, and they also talk to the military with it. It's a force field, which will only work on a flat plane, like the pyramids will only work on a flat plane. But as they can't turn it off, that means they are all in it together. So that means all the wars are fake. They are to frighten us. They're fake.
It is actually used to energize the higher layers to have a reflector So our dishes are working. So communication is working over the whole of the Earth.
Yep.
Through this particular dome, in a sense. Well, I call it actually a koepel. You know that particular Egyptian depiction of the Earth, in where you have that woman with the feet in the south and the hands in the north, and somebody else keeping her up.
Yeah, she's bending over.
That's particularly what I call, that is what's actually happening east-west, is right through the drawing. You see it from side view in actually part of the fifth dimensional circle. In a sense.
Also, do you know, that draws into this whole thing where we've been looking at pyramids and stuff. You know, like the pyramids, but those people that made the pyramids before the Egyptians, they were far more advanced than we were. They knew everything. They knew how to use crystals. I mean, even the crystals they were using, the amethyst, the quartz, and the ions, the negative ions, it would have felt like heaven. They were using these to make electricity, frequencies, whatever it is. I just like, yeah. Anyway, Alan understands all that, don't you, Alan?
Yes, I do, yes. We've been working with that.
Yeah, without me sounding like I'm going crazy, but it's before the Egyptians. So they just lied. So something mega happened here because we got petrified. You know.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. You know, you probably don't want to get me into that line of research because I'm a believer kind of in Anatoly Fomenko's work that I don't think that our history goes back very far. So, I mean, as far as me and the pyramids, I think they're a recent thing. I think the Egyptian pharaohs and that was as early as 1500, 1600. So I think that everything that's before 1000 has been completely fabricated. As a bookseller, I've looked at books and tried to go back and find books. There is no book. There's no coin that has a date on it from earlier than 1500. There's no book that has been written prior to 1100. Everything else before that is a copy of a copy, rewritten by the Jesuits, and meant to make it look like there's things that are ancient that aren't. So yeah, that's a weird line for me because, you know, like I said, I tried to look for Aristotle, Plato, these guys. I said, what date did they write their damn books in? And it's impossible to find. That information is gone because they've been rewritten. So at that point, there's nothing to say that. I don't even believe in BC. There's no, you would never go back in time and put a 0 date on something and call everything before that BC. I think that there may have been a 0 date and people started keeping track from that point, and then they added fake stuff.
Well, Adam is 0. But if you ask me, before Adam, there was a complete world also.
Okay, I agree. I do agree with that. I do think, when I say that, I mean like this, I guess you can call it age, if you want. There was ages before us. I'm sure that, you know, when you dig deep and you find more relics, that's because something happened here that buried the former age. And so I don't think that the pyramids are very old because it seems like there's things that are buried deep that are old, and the pyramids weren't buried. So they seem relatively recent. If you're talking about, you know, these catastrophes that certainly seem like they happened, I mean.
So what's your take on this then, Jeran? Then, looking at this whole thing with pyramids. Look at this whole thing with pyramids. There's in Africa, right? I was watching this guy. All of Africa is one big grid of stone circles and pyramids. It's the same here. I've got a pyramid up the road from me, 20, 30 miles. Nobody here knows it's a pyramid of the world. Silbury Hill. It was a mound, but it isn't. It's a pyramid. There's pyramids everywhere, stone circles everywhere. We're on a grid. Alan understands. Alan, you explain that bit.
Like the ley lines?
Also.
Alan explained it a bit better than me.
I like to put it all in the map.
Explain about like the pyramids being on the grid.
Yes, the pyramids are all connected in a grid system, just like a power is connected through the grid. Power grid, all the pyramids are connected and focus back to that pyramid beside Cairn.
Yeah, Silbury Hill up the road from me.
Yeah.
That's where the energy point of all the pyramids go.
I didn't hear you say it again.
The pyramid that's up the road from me, all the energy points from the pyramids around the world go to that pyramid. And yet,
What do you mean they all go to that pyramid?
Alan, explain it.
Yeah, well, you can actually type in, you can actually search it in Google. It comes up with all the pictures of the pyramids around the world, and they're all connected with a grid system to that particular.
I know that, but you're saying that it all connects to one point?
Yes, they're all connected. They were connected previously. It was a power production system.
Yeah, I understand that, but you're saying it all connects to one point?
It does.
How is that? How do you mean by that? If they're all connected on a grid, how can a grid reference one point?
The grid is the placement of the pyramids. They all focus to that point. It was a power production system. That's all the energies come to that focal point. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but I'm asking, if you look at, picture a grid, and there's a bunch of pyramids at every point on that grid, how can the grid be pointing to one pyramid on the grid?
With the energy lines.
Yeah, I know that. I agree that they're all connected with the layer. I'm just saying, you said that they all point to one. I'm just saying, how do you figure that out?
It's just information we have over in front of us. It seems to all focus to this pyramid, particular pyramid.
And there's some strange markings in the land around it, you know, and they all come off Avebury. Avebury's a stone circle right in front of Silbury Hill, and then it's got 2 avenues of stones on it, and at the end of one of the avenues is this place with these really weird markings in the ground. And I mean, we're told that these are burial mounds, but they're not.
No. Yeah, it looks like the Romans took over Egypt and stole all their knowledge and enslaved the people. They're probably the blacks. They enslaved them. They took their knowledge. They shut down the energy producers and said, we'll charge money for it. And everything that they do is about enslaving you and charging you money for things that are given free over the earth. So that's their whole system. So it doesn't surprise me at all. And it would be something that could be done relatively quick. If you're evil people who don't care about others, you can just march in, take some country over. It's like the United States is doing now. They just march over whatever country they want in the east to take their oil, and they just take it over.
Great.
Yep.
Their history and with taking Aboriginal land.
Yep. Yeah. Once you've done that, then you enslave the people. What happens is you've got a bunch of people in slavery, and they're telling stories about, hey, well, we built this and we built that, and within a generation or two, you're talking 100 years. Within 100 years, you can teach the people that, the kids that come from them, the children that are born of these slaves, you can teach them whatever you want. So you just teach them, your parents are crazy. The pyramids have been here for 5,000 years. That the ancient Egyptians did it, and then your whole history's forgotten. And so we're lucky that we've had a couple people be able to remember things like Atlantis and Lemuria and things like that, because otherwise that would be wiped gone. And that's why I'm not sure what they're going to do with us, because our population is getting to a kind of maybe not in our lifetime, but it's getting close to that period of time where they're going to have to, if they're going to continue doing this, they have to start over again. I don't mean start over like kill everybody, but they need to get that.
Well, aren't they doing it with chemtrails and all these things? Aren't they starting to do it? Like, we don't go in the sun anymore. So doctors now realise that cancer patients are salt deficient, right? And they've told us not to eat salt. So they're doing it. They've got all these programs in place.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's why it's coming. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a doom and gloom guy. If they're going to kill me, then kill me. I don't. What are you going to do? But it's just get the information out there, let people know, and hopefully, because I don't know if you guys have heard me talk about the rice experiment too. But if you've ever done that rice experiment, just doing that experiment proves to you that your positive emotions can change physical reality. And if people realize that by watching the news, by reading the newspapers, which are purposely creating division and racism and statism and sexism, you name it. It's being put out there because that negative emotion that people feel inside breeds and grows, and that's what they want.
That's my point with the harp thing, because none of it's real.
Feeling yourself better because you are part of it. In the feeling better because you are part of one of the parties in the two-party system.
Right.
Both are actually misleading.
Absolutely.
Jesus says, for example, be as smart as a snake and as wise as a dove.
Right.
Well, too smart to be a slave and too wise to be in chaos, and just right, exactly in the middle, where you have the very thin, small road of freedom, which you can actually only take by taking your own full, utter responsibility for it.
Absolutely.
In freedom is to actually plant yourself in freedom and be the flower in where we actually are. We keep hiding ourselves in the seed and we never come out. And they prevent us from coming out because you are either divided or in chaos.
That's what my wife and I realized at the very beginning, is that we saw both sides and said, why is nobody, where do we go when we're in the middle? And it's the loneliest place, but it's your freedom lives in there. And if people knew that, then you change the
same as
we're afraid of that. People are afraid of not knowing. I've had so many people email me and say, you said you don't agree with the Bible God, then who's God? I say the same thing like Jordan Maxwell says, that I don't know who God is, but I know who he isn't. And that is enough for me that to see who not to believe, and that I feel more comfortable trusting what God gave me, which is my heart, my mind, my brain, and that's something I can explain on my final day to the Creator. I have no problem saying I trusted myself, my gut, my heart. If I have to say I trusted books, or I trusted preachers or pastors or scientists or teachers, or that's not the answer that I think is going to be the correct one, because there's nobody who does things for your benefit and your growth. It's not the way the world is built. The world is built on power rules, and knowledge is power. And as long as you're stupid, then somebody can maneuver on top of you and take things from you and take advantage of your kindness. That's what they do. I mean, I wouldn't even put a percentage on it. 97% of the world are good quality people. And the shitheads can take advantage of that. And that's what they do. They just take advantage of people being trusting and people being kind and generous. And when you do that, you end up with a world that's exactly what we have in front of us. A 1% that has all the money, has all the power, has all the control, and a bunch of people who are just held down, and they've taught us to love it. There's people out there that love the lie. They love the idea of space. That's the most incredible thing, is that they built a lie that people love.
That's how it works.
But they don't know any different, do they?
Make people in love for it.
Absolutely, yeah.
But what
people
about...
can't even fathom. When I say space is fake, they can't see it. Well, I can see it through a telescope. I'm not saying that it's fake like that. Yeah, you can see Jupiter in a telescope. Okay, so you don't know what size that is. You have no idea how far that is. You have no idea anything about it. Yet you're taking people's word for it. And these people who have PhDs in that department have never been there. We'll never go there. We'll never touch it. We'll never test it.
Jeran, have you heard of those two places? There's one in Chile and there's one in Germany. They make stars, and the machines themselves can go further, but they cannot get further than 60 miles up.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yep, that's what I think. I think that all you need to do is look at a microscope and understand what a telescope's doing. Is it's zooming in on, call it a dome, call it the firmament, call it energetic separation, whatever you want to call it. But zooming into it is not zooming far. We don't see farther into a leaf on a microscope. We are having the piece of the leaf magnified so we can see, we see little cells inside of a leaf, right? We see little things that we can't see with our eyes. Well, nobody's telling us we can go and land on that cell inside the leaf, which is what they're doing in space. They're telling you, yeah, we see this Jupiter, you can go land there. You can go land on Mars. We have a rover there. That's bullshit. I mean, it's like somebody telling us that in a leaf. Here, see this leaf? We have a rover on that little cell in that leaf. People are believing it.
I have to say, D will tell you, now he's got a P900. D, how far away do you reckon the moon is now you've got a camera like that?
Oh yeah, no, it's nowhere near what they it can't be, because I mean I zoom in on things literally like just across the valley from me, and I struggle to see it. But yeah, I zoom in on the moon and I can see every crater in perfect detail. Yeah, I really can't. I can't. Yeah.
What do you think?
It's nowhere near what they say.
What would you say it is, just based off having a kit? Because we have a good camera too. It's not a P900, but it's I think it's 80 optical zoom or 35 optical. What do you reckon it is?
I'd put it at definitely in the thousands, like 3,000 sounds good to me. Really, it really does, because I mean, yeah, I'm seeing a hell of a lot of detail, but I'm not seeing.
But if they can only make stars 60 miles up, everything has to be inside 60 miles, including the sun and the moon.
Projection of it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean I mean it all sounds plausible. This is what I mean. I mean I don't know. I'd love.
You're only seeing something 50, 60 miles away, which you probably could on the P900 zoom in on just about.
Do you think it?
Well, yeah, no. I mean,
it's
what I want to do now is find something that I know the size of and the distance away it is, zoom in on it and see how much I can zoom in on it, then do the same with the moon and like work out, maybe count pixels or something, and work out how much I've zoomed in on both things, and information we can get a better distance. I don't know.
Does anybody think it's a rock? That it's a place or thing that you can touch? Or
well, think about this. If the sun is in the 4th dimension, the moon probably is. So we see it in the 3rd dimension, but what does it look like in the other dimensions? The sun could be a portal.
Now, I figure it's even 6. We all know this particular video wherein the balloon gets that high that you see actually a sunspot beneath the sun.
Right.
That the sunspot gives me the idea that the sun itself is a toroidal field, or the center of a toroidal field, but floats on the Earth. And we feel the energy when we are in the field.
Yeah, I've been looking at some guys say recently that the sun is probably cold. That it's just it's not a ball on fire for sure.
Yeah, you're right, because Everest is really cold, and yet Everest is closer to the sun. It's freezing. We live in a really small corridor of life.
Good. Yeah, no, that's. For me, the moon is the tough thing. I kind of understand the sun, but the moon, I'm not sure. I can't decide whether it's a. I don't want to call it a hologram, but a projection, or if it's I don't know. That's the one thing I'm still. I wouldn't know if somebody asked me, what is it? What would you say it is? I would say, well, it's meant to provide light and times and seasons and signs, and that's it. You know.
So far I can get is that it is the center heart of a body, and the body itself is connected to the Earth, and it floats between the north and south pillars in a waveform. Same as the sun, but the moon does it 13 times faster.
Alan, explain what you think now as well. Alan, add it to Sirius's stuff. What do you think about now with your heartbeat?
That'll come back on.
Yeah.
Yes, well, with the heartbeat tests we've done, we can prove the dome. That's as much as we've done, and the dimensions that Sirius is talking about.
Yeah, I figure even it is a pulse from the sun reflecting on Earth, and then drawn to the moon.
Yes, that's the heartbeat.
There's a cathode and an anode, and then the Earth has the field where it reflects back, and that's the reflection itself you measure.
Did you call it? Oh, did you call the Earth a womb? Is that what I heard you say? Or
No, dome.
Sorry?
Oh, dome. I didn't know if you said womb or dome. I didn't understand.
It's just my accent. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
So the reason that there's the heartbeat is because of the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon are the heartbeat.
What a field is.
Yep.
How I describe it is, for example, in 3D you have this particular east-west axis, and that axis is a complete toroidal field. In when you stand in the center of it, it folds around you. Am I being followed?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I just say as well that moon, right? When one of those equinoxes happened, because there's 2 a month for the moon, there's a certain time of night where the moon starts coming more north, and I went and looked, and I just couldn't believe it. All the stars that were around the moon came with the moon. It came across the sky from the east, going sort of southwest, and then at a certain time, it went in a different direction. It went north, and all the stars came, and then after an hour, it stopped, all the stars slowed down, and then the moon went west. Almost like a heartbeat doing. I saw it twice in 1 month. I couldn't believe it. You have to see it for your own eyes to see the stars moving with the moon. The moon has many jobs. It wanes, waxes. There's loads of things it's doing. It drags. I think that the moon puts the stars into the seasons. So the moon is bringing the stars round a bit to fit the seasons as we go through the seasons. And that's the reason they're moving in the sky, is because the moon does this thing. Drags them.
I've heard some people talk about the moon being the instigator of the sunlight too. That's interesting.
Instigator. Sorry.
Yeah, it kind of makes a bit of sense. I mean, because at night time, I've got to say, the moon to me, it looks solid. But if you catch it during the day, it looks completely translucent. It doesn't look like anything at all. So,
right.
Very good credence to that, if you know what I mean. Because obviously at night time when it's black, you're going to be able to see it better, and during the day you're seeing it less. So yeah, projection idea is definitely something I go along with, but I have no certainties.
What about the moon with the disc and the moon without the disc then?
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes the moon has a disc on it. Around it you can see the black disc even in the phases through the month, and sometimes it's not there at all. It's like a hologram you're looking at. The moon looks a bit bent, doesn't look the same, and then the other moon comes along with the disc and it's completely different. It's like there's 2 of them, but I'm not sure. But...
the disc indeed.
We used to think that, but we've taken pictures with our camera. We can set it to have a very slow shutter speed, and it'll show the whole moon. So we for a while we thought that during the phases that was like a disc blocking it, but you can take a picture with a slow shutter speed and actually see the portions of the moon that are recognizable, like the C's or whatever they call them, the fissures or the cracks. You can actually see that through it's gray, but it leads me to think that it's there. It's just not being seen due to its location in reference to the sun, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking also this, these particular energy balls where when you touch the finger, the energy is going to your finger. In that sense, also actually the same electromagnetic function what the moon has, in that it only lights where, like Dave Marsh discovered, for example, when the moon is in the opposite hemisphere, it is always the full moon. And when it is in the same hemisphere as the sun, it is always the new moon.
Right.
in a way, the further they are away from each other, and both in all their polarities, the more energy the moon receives, in the sense that it lights itself more and more up in a complete moon, and then goes back, sort of loading and unloading, loading and unloading.
Did somebody say something about the moon moving a certain times faster than the sun? What did somebody say?
Times faster.
How many?
Its lima goes 13 times faster.
The moon?
Yeah, the moon and the lima is 13 times faster as that of the sun.
Oh, the analemma.
The analemma, yeah.
Not okay. Daily, it's just
sun analemma, and then you have the moon analemma, which is going 13 times faster, while the sun goes only 1.
Does it show the same figure 8?
Yeah, but then the other way around. For the sun, the small circle is low in the north, and the big circle is high in the south. And for the moon, it's the other way around.
Okay.
Small circle in the south and low, and then the high, large circle in the north. Ask me, this also explains why in north we have much more sun, because the north is mostly ruled by the sun, and in the south it's actually ruled by the moon, in where you can see the difference in growth and life,
absolutely,
species, etc., etc. The whole difference between north and south in natural.
One of the best proofs against the globe is right there.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, everything is against the globe. Same as the circle. How in the hell do you explain this certain circle? Where I still need some actual footage out of the group from Australia, South America, or South Africa, to actually see the same circle in all the continents there, and make it just in this way empirical proof. I just can't travel there.
Now, the one thing that I've seen recently that is interesting is the sunset in the south is extremely fast. Is, the sun sets and it's dark in 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and that's nothing like where I'm from. So, just an interesting piece of empirical evidence there. That my wife's sister lives there, and she told us that and said that she gets sunburnt easier and quicker, and that the sun seems closer and hotter. And those are interesting things, because the hottest temperature is in the north. All the 14 of the top 15 highest temperatures are in the north. So it kind of leads to a different opinion of the south for the sun to set quicker there. I don't know why that would happen on the flat map either.
Well, it has to make this big circle.
Well, if it's a circle map, I'm saying, what about on the flat map?
I mean, it has the small circle in the north or in the south, so it has to travel.
Okay, got you.
Faster in the south to make up for this circle, in a sense, and into the wideness of it. And if you ask me, there's difference with the 24-hour sun. In the north, it's proven so far, but the south seems to have a problem. And if you ask me, that is because of the sun is higher in there, so it ends up in a higher layer, and that makes it that it actually projects more in the south as a 24-hour sun. And we don't get there. We don't get beyond the 85 degree,
right? Because
that complete square beyond it. And those and beyond those squares, that particular square beyond is where the two pillars are. But the two pillars form also 4 points. What I actually call maybe the lines between the 4 points are the 4 faces of the angels, who are the pillars of the earth. So you have 4 different pillars, the plus, plus, minus, minus, plus, minus, and minus, plus. And then each has their own 4 faces as well. And it's typically between the flower of life points. And then the middle is where both meet, and then in the middle of the other is where both as well meet, but then on the edge of the square. I can see that in front of my eyes. I'm very visual orientated in that sense. Sometimes I need pictures for others to actually explain it. Okay, but these are the 4 pillars. And then you have this as the 4 phases. And then I figure this is a phase, that is a phase, that is a phase, and that is a phase. And a phase can also be a part of a circuit. A phase of something. Second phase, fourth phase, you know. And then all driven through this particular wave, actually. In the south, you have the root wave of the frequency, what is also actually half of the distance. It is the distance between the tropic and the equator. What is the size of the wave itself? Between there and there, the distance between that and that. It's halfway the tropic and the equator. And this wave between the tropic and the equator is actually based on the square itself. You take a complete circle in the square, and then 2 parts of it, one going down and one going up. What make up like a 2 times, what is it, 20 degrees or something? 20 or 30 degrees. And that creates half the wave, and then the other one, from the top of the circle, creates the other half, and that is exactly between the tropics. So in this way, the tropics are even connecting to the square. And all I did was actually put in the latitude information of the tropics. And yeah, equator is easy. Just 0.0. Oh, the bigger fragment right there.
There probably isn't a lot of groups like us, see, Jeran?
No, probably not.
I just also feel that, you know, like there's been a member also who seems to have died. What was his name? Series, the person that died last week, or just been brought to Aaron Dover. I don't know if you've heard of him. He supposedly committed suicide and all that. So, and then loads of people said he didn't. But it's just that when Series knows all this, and they've spent so long covering it up, and we've just done the lies, you know, like not even like most people are putting loads of baby lotion, factor 50, all over their children, aren't they? When really it's the worst thing they could do. So you can see what they're trying to do, make illnesses when there wasn't any. And but I feel with Series, knowing all this, there was no point jumping up and down and bragging about it publicly like Laurie and everyone else when you know that they've got the wrong maps. So we needed to stay, and also the group are happier because people will say things when they feel it's in a closed environment and the trolls aren't going to come in. It just ruins things when people do that. But when Series knows all this, and he's
rather see you or ODD or everybody else actually promoting this by actually understanding it first, and then put it to the public in the sense that they have their public already there. And I really like to keep myself in the background of it all, because I don't need this focus on my person in that sense. I want to focus on the information itself.
Good. That's a good thought. And I think that that's something everybody's open to doing. Like I said, I don't mind coming out with new ideas, but like you said, I want to understand it, and then also want to do my own kind of research on it and make sure it fits, my beliefs, my my understanding, because you're not going to be able to accurate. The one thing I've said, and I will say this over and over again, is everything I say, I believe. So, I would never present something until I believe it. That's just for me, because I'm not going to do a good job at talking about anything unless that's the one thing I can hang on to, is that what I speak is my honest beliefs, my honest research, my honest understandings, and that's all I can guarantee people and promise people that I can do. I can't promise I'll be right, but I can promise that I'm not being controlled from an outside entity or like that.
That's always an original thought of your own, yeah.
Well, not necessarily an original thought of my own. I mean, I would hear things from other people and then, do my own research on it, and then come to, like I said, this whole flamenco thing and the time, phantom time it's called or whatever. It met. I certainly didn't come up with it on my own. I couldn't have come up with it and said, "Oh, I think history is a lie." It took me doing research on what he said, and then it matched a lot of my own research and kind of helped explain some things, just like the flat Earth did. We all had these conspiracy-minded opinions of things, but it left a very wide open hole a lot of places that just didn't make sense. Well, the flat Earth closed that for me. The fake space closes things for me. The research I've done, as far as that, and Vannevar Bush, and it just, the more you read into it, the more I'm looking, the more I find connections to the National Science Foundation and to the Satellite Communications Act. And when you start seeing that, all of a sudden you form an opinion based on that, and that's something I feel completely comfortable going forward with and telling people, because it's not something that I'm just like, okay, well, I've heard this and I think it might be right. It's things that I'm saying that this is what I believe, that I think space is a computer generation, a computer simulation, that there's nothing that tells me in my experience at all that anything about space is real. We had a telescope. A guy bought me a telescope about a year and a half ago at this point. Somebody who believed in the globe, who got a hold of me and said, "Hey, let me send you
practice from the astrological aspect of it."
Yeah, and actually, just it showed me more that deception.
Descriptions of who are the moment you are born, the things you are doing, the way you are doing things.
Yep.
And yeah, I created this. So I don't know if you see it. What I see is in 7D. What I think is in 6D. What I can put in words is in 5D. What I actually say to people is 4D.
Yeah, that's all.
But what people understand is 3D. And I need to get people out of this black cube.
Yeah, and it's probably me. I'm one of those that I struggle with 4D because I don't.
You can't see it.
Because the reason I was able to get away from the globe is because I saw that some of those aspects of the globe were metaphysical, and so the ideas of I'll just call it a Pac-Man map, because that's what Lori and them talked about it as. That put me back into the same kind of feeling of, okay, now I've got to believe in metaphysical things, and I do believe in the metaphysical, meaning the spiritual, that we can change our reality. But I also have a pretty firm belief in the physical structure that I live on. That we've done some kind of mind games, my wife and I, trying to figure out, because a lot of people say things like, "Oh, well, if human consciousness creates the Earth, that without humans here, that the Earth wouldn't exist," and we did some mind games with that.
Without it, we don't exist as well.
Huh?
Without it, we don't exist. Without us, it doesn't exist as well.
Yeah. Well,
that's
I think
not meaningful.
That's where the 4D thing gets me a little bit tripped up, and where I need to really look at it, because
the 4D thing is more like the space loop, and the 5D thing is the same but way bigger.
Right.
And that flower-fly pattern was also in everything.
Right, but our understanding of the water, the way the ocean works, the way planes fly, does not lead very easily to an idea of go this way and come out that way, or that the water continues. If you're on a boat and you're just floating along, at some point
it becomes
move.
relative in that sense, because no matter where you are on the map in east-west sense, you will always be the middle of that particular circle.
Correct. Right. That's the difficult thing, because okay, yeah, even though I'm the middle, there's people at the ends of my observable circle, right? And each of those people are at the end of their observable circle. And if you keep drawing that out, eventually the people's circles have to touch, but you're going further left and further right. That's a difficult concept, not to understand, because I understand it. It's a difficult concept to adopt as reality. Because like I said, the physical world to me, I don't know if you ever heard me describe it, but my wife and I talked about a bomb that hit the earth, a gas bomb, and it killed every single human, except for there was one guy in China that happened to be, I don't know, in his garage or something, and for some reason, he was missed. He didn't hit none of the gas touched him. Everybody else dropped dead. That all the physical structures around the earth would remain. That even though everybody's consciousness is gone and there's just that one person left, if he waited 70 years and came to my city, that my house would be here, or the remnants of it they had been attacked by wind and weather and rain and animals. That the physical structures of the earth remain. So when we talk about being in the middle of our circle and the whole idea of 4D, I have a hard time rationalizing how that's reality, and also the physical structure is reality. That's where my hang-up is. But again, like you said, if the empirical evidence tells me that, then it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what my ideas are or what I think would be difficult to explain. If the evidence tells me that, then I have to go with that. That's the same thing if the globe was true. That regardless of if I don't think people are underneath me upside down, and I don't think that we're on a spinning ball, if there's evidence that tells me that that's true, then I have to believe it. And looking for that evidence, I found the opposite. Evidence that it's a mental construct. There's evidence of men who have decided for us what is true and called it science, but it's missing the one thing science is known for, and that's evidence.
That's a empirical proof that actually finishing the circle.
Right. Exactly. There's no. It drops short at the one place that, and like you said, when I first got on this call, somebody was talking about they taught it to us when we were in first grade, and there's an absolute reason for that, and the reason is because you have to indoctrinate people with lies at the youngest age you possibly can, in order for them to later in life even fight on behalf of that lie. And that's what we have. We're going up against people who have never observed something, who have never measured it, who have never tested it, who will fight for it because they were taught it in first grade. So those things are evidence of the deception to me. And to teach people a flat earth and teach them that there's water dropping off the edge and teach them that it's an ancient desert wandering belief, those are all things that should be evidence for people in favor of the flat earth, because they just need to look at their governments, they just need to look at media and see that basically whatever they're pushing, the opposite is probably true.
Yeah.
So
that's what I call listen to the whisper, because the shouting will always be there, but the whisper is the particular truth right in your face.
And as far as the circle map goes and getting that out of people's minds,
the shouting is what all the lies they tell about it.
Yeah, and I think that the circle map, the problem with that is that, at least that I've been shown, there hasn't been any great evidence put forth in a good way that disproves it. There's a lot of words. There's a lot of people saying it's a deception. There's a lot of people saying it's a psyop. There's a lot of people saying it's controlled opposition.
Circle opposition. Well, they push it.
You can, I'm just, my perspective, that what you're saying there is not good evidence, because we came to the idea of the flat earth on our own, and it just so happens I saw the azimuthal equidistant map on Eric Dubé's site, and from that it allowed me to form all my other opinions. Now,
yeah,
if that's controlled,
the same, right? And if that's controlled
opposition, I'm not sure that for instance, okay, so I know that people think that they're going to come out and say eventually that there's a globe or something to keep us further trapped, or I don't know what they're going to do. But regardless, the last thing that the powers that be want is for anybody to question everything, which if you're talking about controlled opposition like it was put out on purpose, I don't see that, because it's the last thing.
No, it's more damage control in that sense.
But this was a grassroots movement that came about because of, so you mean like the UN putting that as their map logo was them knowing that eventually people would catch on and then be stuck by the circle?
Yeah. Well, that's there are so that's where you see how where they actually invest in just to bring up barriers to keep people still in. Like you have these 3 mind levels between child and master: the collective, the ego, and the universal. Once one is getting out of the collective, it starts coming into the ego. The collective is the outside forced yes. You do what your parents you say, you do what your teacher teach you, you do what your boss expects from you, you do what the society expects from you. But once the ego is started, the ego is the no-sayer from within. And then you have the universal, what is the yes-sayer from within. And there is only one thing where you can say yes to, but it's never forced from outside on the collective level, and that is the complete and utter taking responsibility of your own freedom. But to come there, you need to have the movement from within, and that is the function of the ego, to say no to the outside forced yes, so you can come to the yes from within.
Okay, so see what you just described to me is the exact thing that happened when I went from the globe to understanding the flat Earth. And this is why I don't even think the difference between the square map and the azimuthal equidistant is important right now. And the reason I say that is because the going to the circle is sufficient for people to step away from the governmental, educational, parishional belief. You know, it's enough that now I am out of the loop. I'm out of the trap. I'm no longer enslaved, regardless of whether it's a circle map or a flat.
This ego level, for example, they have a very subtle way to keep you on it, and that is stroking, so that you get addicted to the investment of it. You know, the title, the money, the house, the job, etc., etc. Everything what is giving your ego a stroking, so you don't go further as well. Many people are stuck on the ego level. Actually, that particular yes, what is left. And it took me many years to actually figure this out, that it was all about freedom and taking responsibility for it. That's the only way to be free.
But
to be that.
What I'm saying is, don't you think when people have realized that the Earth is not a globe, that is 90% of the step?
Yeah, that's the ego step. But it doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is, okay, so that's it. It isn't important as the first step. The first step is the one that makes you not watch TV anymore, makes you give up the media, makes you understand that wars are fake, make you understand that the space.
No, in that case, no, against all that outside. Yes.
Yeah, so that's all I'm saying is that
it would still mean you didn't know where you lived, though, wouldn't it?
Say it again.
It would still. What you're saying is you still wouldn't know where you're living. You just accept it.
No, I absolutely know where I live.
Sorry.
Whether or not it's a square or whether or not it's a circle doesn't matter anymore. What matters is I live on a created realm. I live on a created physical reality. I'm a spiritual being that has been trapped by an elite group of men who lied to me from the time I was 3, put it in every movie, every commercial, and everything about my entire life was meant to enslave me. Once you realize that, then the details of it are obviously important, but not nearly as important as that first step. And I'm not sure that if I would have heard somebody saying the things that Siri's found, if he would have been saying that from the beginning, let's say that the circle map never was the first thing out, that he discovered some stuff and was showing the flat map and was coming out saying that that was true, I'm not sure I would have, it wouldn't have been the kind of transition that I had. And I'm not saying that that means anything, because each person's unique and individual. I mean, certainly I can't say, well, because I'm this way, everybody reacts the same way. I can't say that. I'm only saying that for me, once I've taken this step, I'm open now to hearing everybody talk about different things and listening to his evidence and listen. But those things are the reason I'm able to look at it is because I took the first step.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to agree with you there, Jeran. I mean, if I'd come across series before I'd seen all the other stuff first, I mean, I wouldn't have even bothered looking at it because I couldn't understand it at first. That's my trouble. I couldn't understand the 4D. And I think that not understanding scares a lot of people, but luckily, like I say, I mean, I've seen all this other stuff first, so I could see it was onto something. It's just I could understand it. It was my not understanding that was kind of scary. And like I say, I've only been in the group for a month and a half, 2 months now, and
3, 4,
or was it 3?
4 now. You came
just starting to get to grips with stuff now.
Dee's kind of moved along quite a lot because he's someone who joined in about December, and now he comes on a lot of hangouts, and like in the last 4 months, he's raced along in our group.
And that's because, again, of once he saw the lie that he was a part of and stepped out of that, then everything else opens up as a possibility. And the way I've described it before is that if that's what I'm trying to get to people, is the lie of the globe is more important to me than where they live, because they need to.
Well, what you say is more for the advanced flat earther.
But then you've got what you're doing, Jeran. You're going one way with your destiny, and this is Siri's destiny.
And that's what I'm saying about Lori's stuff. When I told her to keep going on what she was doing, she came out and said, "It's Pac-Man of the globe," and I said, "Don't say that." I said, because you have this idea and you think that you've disproven the circle map. That's great. Then continue on your line and keep researching, keep studying. We'll keep watching you. The Globebusters, me and Bob would watch their show until they went on this attack of Globebusters and that we're gatekeepers, because we know we're not. We're just talking. So we're like, if you're going to say that, okay, great. We're not going to watch you anymore. And now if you discover something, we're not even going to be paying attention. So,
exactly, yeah.
And that's happened to Jason as well, hasn't it? Whereas everybody was looking and listening to him. Well,
we even had him on the show. Bob's a big fan of the idea of simulation theory. I'm not, but he is, and so he wanted to have Jason on the show. I said, great, we'll have anybody on the show to discuss things, but then they flip out and go on some trip because they want everybody to believe exactly what they believe. And I understand that if it's the truth, but also we have to look at the world and think to ourselves, what would the world be like if we all agreed on everything? It would be the most miserable existence. There's no use. You wouldn't even exist. Why exist? Why exist if everybody on Earth wanted the same thing for dinner? There wouldn't be restaurants. What if we all like
No,
the same
but there is
cars?
the truth, though, isn't there? I mean, we're here because we want the truth.
Absolutely, but we also have to look at everybody's collective. How do you say it? Like their experiences are all important, and we should get away from people who are living in an experience that it cannot be proven to be in any way factual, like the globe. To me, cannot be proven as factual. In fact, every evidence, and you can just look at all of history, look at the quotes of these great scientists, and you'll know that it is a design that was meant to, I think it is to get rid of God, but there's a lot of different reasons for it. It's once people were involved in science, the whole idea of science was there can be nothing metaphysical, that everything has to be explained with physical process. Right. And so they took off on this religion, and so anything that came up that would have led to the question of why are we here, who put us in the center, why is it that we have this 4D existence, whatever it is, science had to make sure that question never was asked because they can't answer it. So they pigeonholed themselves into a atheistic, materialistic, nihilistic direction, and the people who are involved in that study are so invested in it, and they just keep teaching it. There's more people coming through the school system, going through education, that are falling in love with it, and they teach that same lie to them. And so you just got, I do think it's to hide God, but I also think the people who are a part of it now have been raised in the belief that there is no God. So anything that comes from outside of that, they look at the same way Christians look at anything coming outside the Bible.
You're only who you are with what you know, though, aren't you? And if they don't know, they're not looking that way. They're not understanding. No one knows this stuff. And you turn the television on, oh, look, we've been to the moon or whatever it is. We've done the docking at 17,000 miles an hour. Oh, look. And I've found this information where this person trying to be the Prime Minister of England a few years ago, Ed Miliband, he was asked these questions and he repeated the same thing 5 times and no one said anything. The reporter didn't say anything. And then we would have all listened to that and no one would have noticed. He said he just changed the sentences round. He actually said the same thing because it's been copied, you know, the words and everything. He said the same thing 5 times. We just aren't listening.
Yeah, crazy. People are robots. I mean, they think that Trump is some savior.
So
the two-party system here is, they don't care who wins.
Well, it's the same people coming, isn't it? It's the same bloodline.
You choose, the policy stays the policy.
It's the same family who are ruling the world, really. They've got the same bloodline. They're all related. Like, I found out that, oh my goodness, who's president now? His name's gone right out of my brain. Who's the president now? Trump. Trump's related to Hillary. They're cousins. And then Clinton, he's related to Bush. Bush is related to the Queen. The Queen is related to all the other royal families. They're all in it together.
Yep, and yeah, it's ridiculously obvious to the people that are awake. I mean, soon look at Trump's daughter. I don't think Trump knows, actually. I think that guy's an idiot. But his daughter is a very big time Jew, and he moved right in and became a senior advisor, and it's just so obvious what's going on, and people can't see that.
Yeah.
And you can try and wake them all you want, but the thing is, though, you're right. I'm in it for the truth. So again, the last thing I want to do is be telling people. Okay?
So Judith wants to say something. So
yes, I have a question. So it's an idea. Can we go to the people? Can we go into the court and insist for the truth? Because these people must be in the jail. These people must.
Yes, it's treason.
These people, NASA, they must be in the jail because they liar. And can we are going to the court and insist to bring the truth? Question.
I'll tell you why not. Why doesn't that work? The United States government is a sovereign nation that cannot be taken to court. And anybody who does anything for the point of national security can't be taken to court. If it's shown that a reason for national security that they did it. So they're going to say, if we took them to court, even if it came out that it's a fact that space has been faked, the United States could simply say that they faked it so that they could pretend like they had a position in space to where that kept us safe. And the sad thing is about America is that we have not been attacked here on our soil by anybody ever. I mean, that nobody has come over here. Even these so-called attacks are never, the 9/11. Everybody knows that's not. That was our own people. So what you've got is they've actually got evidence for it. That, hey, look we are who we are because people thought we were spacefaring. We had all these satellites up there, and so nobody attacked us. And so for the point of national security, we have protected the people who lived in this country. That's what, I don't know if it'll come to that point, but they could go that route. Which is why I think
it sounds like people are stupid, and we protect them from their own stupidity.
Right. And you know what? There's people here who would agree with them. Like, well, they did protect us, you know. Like, no, they lied to your freaking face and taught you as a child, and they teach your children an atheistic existence. I mean, look at this world just in 30 years.
Yep.
I mean, when I was 5, 6 years old, and through the time I was 12, 13, we ate dinner at the table every night. Parents were asking, what did you guys learn at school today? There was communication. There was family time. There was decent television programming that wasn't, gay this and transvestite this and murder this video game and kill in this video game. I mean, what they've done is they've completely flooded. The morality is gone.
Yeah.
People, they just don't care anymore. They don't care about anything.
They only care about themselves.
They care about themselves, and they care about looking
They're angry,
good in front of others.
They live through their ego, and they don't care about anybody else but themselves. That's what I see, including my own family. It's really embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. I see that.
But I say with this stroking of what is so subtle but so deeply in the human grooved, in the sense that they are so addicted to the stroking that they never will try to lose their ego, because the stroking is so how do you call it?
Big?
And so beautiful in a sense, but
but we must remember the power is our hand. The power, we've got the power. We need to remember this. We've got the power.
As soon as we take our responsibility for it, we have it actually. In all other cases, we give it away.
Absolutely. Look at the numbers game. Like I said, the numbers game is so heavily in the favor of decent, good quality people, and yet we are trampled on because numbers, they win in every game except for the game where the people who are on the other team don't give a care about anything. They don't care who they got to kill. They don't care who they got to cheat. They don't care who they steal from. That team has a heavy advantage because there's things that they'll do that we would never do. And that makes it.
I need to say something, because the internet is a big present we've got from the nature, from God, from no matter what you call it. We've got this internet to become together. And I agree with Karen, beautiful, to stay together. We need to stay together. You don't. You need to understand the idea. We become one. Now it doesn't mean if he is a Muslim, if I am a Jew, because we are another level now. And we need to work together, because this is our power. So if we are separate, we lose our power. We need to work to be smart in this. Yeah. Thank you.
I would totally agree with you on that, because one thing I did notice, and then I'll tell you why I kind of don't agree, but on one end, when I started making videos, the amount of people on Facebook that messaged me from other countries was overwhelming. Everyone's so nice and friendly, and love from Istanbul, love from Turkey, love from South America. I mean, it just helped me realize that we're all just people who want to live peacefully and happily, and you've got these elite that just force us to hate each other by lies and deceit and holding us down. So I agree with you there. But the other part of it is, I think the internet allows the powers that be to get an insight into people's minds that they never had before. If there was no internet, then you've got people who could get together and talk at meetings and things that they would have no idea. And you could really, build an insurgents group that was ready to take down a government that was, providing things through tyranny and things like that. But with the internet, I have a feeling that they listen to almost everything, and that allows them to keep tabs on what is who knows what's going on, what do we need to clean up, what do we need to hide, how do we need to react to things. They can be ready for everything, and that's why I think they've ultimately left the internet going, because they can monitor.
That's it.
This is why I also actually want to build a complete communication protocol on my own website. Basically, I have already the normal text chat, the audio and video on a level in pure layers to have even the hardware working. And for that particular part, I just need to write the secure socket layer. Yeah, that's a bit hard to make, actually.
Yeah, I bet, because they've got all that encryption stuff. But the other thing too is I'm not afraid for people, but I just one thing we did is went out and got handheld radios, because if something ever went down, where let's say this came out and people started flipping out, they would shut off the internet in a heartbeat, and that would leave a lot of people stuck to where, for instance, they could come on your radio and say, or on your TV and say that all these countries, or all these states, I'm just going to speak in terms of the United States, all these states have been shut down due to martial law. Well, you would have no idea of if that was true. They could also shut down the cell phone network, and all of a sudden you would really be at the, what would you do? For me, I've already thought about it, and we've got, a weapon here. We're allowed to have guns in the United States. So, I mean, but for others, I don't know what they would do. And because people become dependent on these things like the internet as a gift, as a great tool for togetherness, but I think it's also a crutch that could be taken away at any time.
I know. I had a foster child. Even if I took her phone away, she ended up in what was it? In a mental state, it's unbearable, completely losing herself because she doesn't have internet. She can't connect. She can't.
Oh, really?
She can't be.
Yeah, my son, 17. That's the only thing that he cares about is his damn phone. That you take that away, and it's like the whole world is ended. He'll go in his room and just cry in a corner. That's what they've done.
So if they shut down the internet, well, whoa.
But it's what I mean. If you check out Alan's YouTube channel, the Doc he's called on YouTube, and he does put a lot of good videos out that are trying to get people ready, trying to get them to prepare and stuff. So.
Yeah.
What did you say the name was? The Doc?
Yeah, he's there now.
It's
Alan.
hard to find, actually.
Alan, could you just explain to Jeran what they're doing with all the electricity, that we don't need all the stations, the whole thing, what they're doing with the pylons, everything? Just quickly explain it to him.
Oh, basically we don't need all the power stations we have, especially nuclear, because we're already harvesting power through pylons. So there's also another thing they're doing, that the 100% of the power that you're buying through your meter, 80% of that's going back down your neutral line to the power company. 100%, but they're taking back 80%.
Yes, that's okay. You can take them to court. That is not for national security. That is called theft.
Yes.
But I've been watching a lot of Aaron Dover's stuff, and we had our disagreements in the past, but he's done great work, and I totally was on board with all the energy stuff. That absolutely Tesla found that there's a connection between the earth and the sky, and they just tap into it and store it and then give you what's free.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Yep. Yeah, it's that's criminal. That's absolutely criminal. I mean, and I think what NASA's doing is criminal as well, but I'm just saying they have an excuse or a way out of that. There's no way you can explain that the power grid or the idea of paying for PG&E or something that's what we call our electric company, paying for electricity they can't call that national security. That's just all out theft.
That's theft, yeah.
Same thing with
You
water.
are called Jeran Campanella
Yep.
on Facebook?
Yep.
All right. Then I get notifications.
So it was great, guys. I'm gonna get something to eat. I'm starving. I didn't get lunch before this. And would you guys meet on a certain day or anything, or is it just always kind of up in the air?
We have hangout time. It's not really on a set day. Sometimes we have them 5 days a week.
Email is much better than about once a week and try and get through as many messages as I can. But it's I miss so many people that way. So definitely email me. And then once I see you, I put you in a special folder and I make sure I check those every day. So that's the best way to reach me.
Okay, would you be interested in coming on another hangout with us then?
Hey, Rob.
Okay,
Sure.
I might go outside.
Sorry, we have someone else with us now. We have Robert, but Robert, Jeran's going to have to go in a minute now. Did you have a question for him or something?
I was trying to think of some questions, but just for some of his YouTube videos that it actually did this. So just so Jeran's still here then?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good to meet you.
You too.
But yeah, I looked at a lot of your videos and I showed them to my buddy. We're on a drywall fab right now. He's
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, I like your videos. You got some good information out there. Definitely some really good facts on there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's all I can hang my hat on is that I've had so many emails from people who said that it's allowed them to see the world in a different way. And, you know, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what if you're wrong? What if you're, I say, you know what, there's so much good that can come of this, that either we're going to discover that everything that we were taught is actually true, which is great because we all didn't even know and we all just believed people anyway. So if we confirm that what we were taught in school is correct, then great. Then we can move forward knowing that what we were taught was correct. But if we find out that we were lied to, then we're going to get closer to the truth. So,
There's no way to be low. I mean, just
No
looking
way.
at water level from perspective from the water level, you know, and what water does naturally. And then they tell us in school too. They even told us this in school. 70% of the earth is water. Well, it's
Right.
probably more than that, but with it being totally always staying flat and wanting to seek and find level, where the hell is it curving at is a very good question.
Right. Yeah, and I've seen so many people out there that are taking pictures, measuring, doing tests, and actually interested in the place we live. And I know for a fact that for 35 years, I could care less. I don't think I ever even noticed the moon. I didn't even look at it. I didn't care. I don't know what. I didn't even know.
I think that really was great, and I shared it with quite a few people. Was the one about the Mars rover.
That was a great find. That one.
I think you had fun making that one.
Yeah,
That's the question I have. How did you come across that? Were you just messing around on Google Earth or what?
Yeah, I was looking at Greenland because just like, you know, you guys have seen that it doesn't make any sense when you look at the globe that all the areas around there are all just normal land, and then all of a sudden there's this huge patch of ice, like for no reason. So I was like zoomed in, looking around there just for those little images that pop up that are or Gigapan or something. They're like the images you can click on and zoom in, and it kind of gives you like a 360 view. I was just looking for those to kind of get an idea, like, what does this place actually look like? It just looks on the globe like it's covered with ice. And it just so happened I came around a corner and saw a picture and went and looked at it, and it was the picture of the little fucking rover in the little van. I was like, what the hell is this? And I know that they say it's, you know, a training spot, but it's just people, you know, those are the kind of things that people don't use their head on, that you would not pay to send scientists up to Greenland or to Devon Island in this remote ass place where you've got to hook up all these satellites you could do that in the backyard of wherever NASA is. You could just to dirt and make a Mars surface. You don't need to go to Devon